2번 시드 테란 박성균.
기변함보단 잘하겠습니다. 자꾸 유난히 형이 같이 하고 싶다는 거예요. 누군 뭐 하고 싶지 않나? 할 수가 없는 걸.
그렇죠.
ASL 첫 시드인데 이번이 시드 딴 게 너무 후회되더라고요. 유난히 형이랑 같은 줄 할 수가 없어서.
자, 그럼 박준호 선수 이야기 한번 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
정배가 약간 A조 김인환 들어가고 B조 박준호가 이게 맞거든요. A조보단 저도 B조가 더 마음 편하긴 해요. 성균이 형이 약간 요즘 좀 멘탈이 안 좋은 걸로 알고 있어서 약간 기회인 것 같습니다.
바로 선택해 주시기 바라겠습니다.
대로 됐어요.
지금 바로 들어갔습니다.
예상하고 있었습니다. 순서가 제가 너무 앞에 있어가지고.
동리단길로 한번 가볼까요? 그리고 B조.
지금 남은 선수들 다 오고 싶어 하는 것 같아요.
네.
저거 토스 중에 고민 중인데.
김태경?
김태경
있어요.
준호야 나 뽑아 한번 하자.
저그전은 택신이 엄청 잘하거든요. 저 뽑는 게 나을 거예요.
오픈런이에요. 줄 서 있습니다.
원하는 투수 뽑아줄 수 있거든요.
오.
그것도 나쁘지 않아요.
김정우는요?
나 뽑아. 내가 제일 만만하잖아.
이렇게 무섭죠? 자, 일종의 이제 협박을.
그룹 B 같은 경우는 밥집의 약자가 아닐까.
그렇죠.
뭐 이런
밥조.
이제 개수를 줄이려면 저그가 있는 게 아무래도 좀 서로 편하지 않나.
영진이 형이 아까 원하는 사람 뽑아준다 했는데 그거는 패시브예요. 당연히 뽑아줄 거고 같이 갑시다.
일단 저 친구는 안 뽑을게요. 왜냐면 저 친구가 이번이 ASL이 마지막이에요. 연습 하루에 50판씩 할 것 같아서.
저는 일단 손목 상태가 안 좋아서 연습 많이 안 할 거예요.
줄을 좀 많이 썼거든요.
연습을 많이 하는 상대는 싫다의 김정우.
아우, 축하드립니다. 웃으면서.
네.
서로 다 안진마일 거예요. 안진마인 사람들끼리 재밌게 해봅시다.
제가 누구를 데려오든 까다로운 적으로 바뀐다고 하더라고요.
여기 지금 4명 남았는데 저희 테란 2명은 A조를 가고 싶은 욕심이 있잖아요. 그리고 김태경 선수는 B조에 본인이 원하는 조를 가고 싶어서 뽑지 말라고 하거든요. 이 3명은 욕심쟁이거든요. 따지고 보면.
네.
저는 이제 욕심 없이
욕심
저기
없다.
갔을 때 다른 조를 가고 싶은 거거든요. 그냥 좀 안정적인 그런 저를 뽑는 게 낫지 않을까.
제 입장에서는 누굴 뽑든지 진짜 상관이 없는데 간절히 보여서
그 결과
우와.
성공했습니다.
역시 마음을 비워야 됩니다. 이 선수들이 계속해서 이제 B조만 지금 노려보고 있는 상황이고요. 마치 진짜 시식단처럼
맛 평가단 같은 이런 느낌으로 앉아 있어요.
지금
솔직히 요새 보면 제가 제일 만만하거든요.
까보면 제가 더 안 좋거든요.
일단 먹어봐야 알 것 같긴 한데 그 보기만 해도 그 먹기 싫은 음식들이 있어요. 일단 현실적으로 애 아빠는 일에 집중하기 좀 힘들 것 같아요.
하루에 육아 한 5시간 이상 하고 있으니까 그 부분은 걱정하지 마세요.
오히려 애 아빠라서 분유값 벌어야 되거든요. 열심히 할 수도 있어요.
저였으면 영진이 형 뽑을 것 같아요. 일단 요즘 좀 맛이 간 것 같고.
맛이 갔다. 맛이 좀 많이 갔나요?
네.
최종 선택. 자, B그룹의 주인공이 누가 될지. 이영재.
그나마 좀 괜찮은 조에 들어온 것 같아서 기분이 좋네요.
지명은 마무리가 됐습니다.
우승자의 고란으로 그룹 A를 3적으로 만들겠다 이런.
토스가 3명밖에 없어서 스프전을 붙이기는 싫어요. 저도.
저는 현재랑 정우 형이랑 바뀌어도 상관없어요. 왜냐면
잘하는데요?
이건 근데 뭐 이형 사정이고 기대감이 제가 별로 없잖아요. 16강에서 원래 잃을 거 없는 사람은 별로 무서운 게 없어요.
비조는 그냥 냅뒀으면 좋겠습니다. 안 그래도 힘듭니다. 그냥 냅둬주세요. 더 이상 건들지 말아주세요. 조용히 이대로 저희 넷이 갈 테니까 더 이상의 그런 건 이제 그만 좀 해줘.
자, 최종 우승자의 권한 변현재 떼고
김정우!
야!
그룹 B가 변현재의 B였나요?
Hello everyone, welcome to ASL S16 Ro.16 Group B match proudly brought to you by Tastosis and In yesterday's Group A, it was Effort and JYJ making out of the group to join the round of 8. Unlike yesterday's group, today's group consists of players of all races. And from this group, who will make it to the round of 8? Let's hear what the players think ahead of today's match. We'll talk to them now. Hello everyone.
네, 먼저 지난 시즌 준우승자
First and foremost, we will talk with the top seed of this group,
안녕하세요.
Mind. Hello, Mind.
자, 일단 비조 같은 경우에는
Like I said before, this group has all the three races.
비조에 대한 박성균
What are your
선수
thoughts in this
선수를
group?
먼저, 박성균 선수의 생각을 좀 먼저 들어보고 싶은데요.
일단은
Well,
사실 뭐
I
16강은 어느
personally
조나
think
다
all the
빡세다고
groups are equally
생각하는데
hard in the round 16.
제
But
입장에서는
for me,
마지막에 이제
since we had a
토스가
Protoss player being
네.
imported into our group at the end, it was a lot harder to prepare for due to the addition of an extra race.
어떤 종족전 준비가 좀
Then which
힘드셨을까요?
matchup did you find the
비조는
hardest to
어떤
prepare for?
식으로 좀 두고 연습을
And how much amount of
하셨을까요?
practice did you set for each matchup?
셋다 고루고루 하려고 했는데
Well, I try to practice the same
워낙에
amount for each of the three
맵도
matchups,
좀
but we have some
많다
new maps in the
보니까
map pool, so it was
연습하는데
very
뭐
hard for me
쉽진
to
않았어요.
practice.
네. 셋다 쉽지 않았어요.
네, 사실 박성균 선수는
So mine, you
ASL
tend to have a
내에서
reputation of being weak at
테란전이 조금
TBT within ASL.
약하다라는 또 이미지도 있는데요.
But
강력한
alas,
테란
there's the
유영진
extremely
선수와
strong
같은
Terran
조에
player
있어서
rush in
이
your
부분은
group.
살짝 좀
Do you feel any
부담스럽게
pressure
다가오진
due to
않을지도
this?
궁금하네요.
뭐안 그래도 테란전을
Actually, I felt the need to improve on my TBT matchup since the end of last season, but I couldn't make that happen due to unforeseen circumstances. It is true that I'm quite worried for the TBT, but during practice, I realized the maps against Zerg and Protoss are worse than Terran, so now
네.
I actually feel like I'm better off playing TBT.
그렇게 막 쉽진 않지만
I mean, all the matches are gonna be very hard, but I guess I'll just have to try my
알겠습니다.
best.
이번에는 박준호 선수.
But let's talk with Killer now.
안녕하세요.
Hello, Killer.
24강에서 너무 놀라운 경기력으로 조 1위로
In the round of 24, you came first place in your group to move on to round of 16. So I'm guessing your mindset preparing for the round of 16 is quite different from your mindset in the round of 24.
일단
How's it?
24강도 준비할 땐 어려웠는데
Well, preparing for the round of 24 was tough, but preparing for the round of 16 has even been has been even tougher. It's been since there are so many strong opponents in this group. Yes, that's right. The other three players in this group are of extremely high caliber. And they have very good careers. So how did preparation go for you?
일단 연습은 그래도 후회 없을
I
만큼
practiced
열심히
so much that I won't have much regrets
강한
practice-wise.
선수들이랑 하긴 하지만 그래도
I hope I can
후회
put on a
없이 게임을
performance with no
해보겠다고
regrets
생각하고
today.
준비만큼은 후회
I
없이
see. Good to hear some confidence coming from Killer.
다음으로는 또 프로토스 변현재
And now we're
선수와
gonna talk to the
이야기
Protoss player Mini.
나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
Hello, Mini.
안녕하세요.
Hello.
이번 16강에서는 프로토스가
There are only 3 Protoss players in round 16, and apart from Best, a seeded player, you and Bisu are the only Protoss players to have made it to round 16. So I'm sure a lot of ASL fans are going to be looking forward to your performance today. I think it all comes down to how confident you're feeling today. How are you today?
뭐 컨디션은 나쁘지 않은
Well, not
것
bad
같고요.
actually.
제가 먼저 토스 중에 좀
I think
빨리
the
뽑아야
onus is on
다른
me to
선수들이
advance today to
올라오지
pave the way
않을까
for other
싶어요.
Protoss players.
사실 변현재 선수 입장에서는 우승을 차지했던
Well, the last time you won the ASL was back in season 12, and after that, the round of 16 has been quite difficult for you.
16강 이번 시즌에 꼭 뚫어내고 또 가을에 버프를
Since
좀
it's
받으셔야
almost
될 것
fall,
같은데
you're going to have to
어떠세요?
overcome the round of 16 curse this time,
가을의
right?
버프는 좀
I mean, the fall buff is always there, I can sense it.
있는 것 같거든요. 그래서 이번
I hope this season serves as an opportunity for me to regain my form.
16 시즌이지 않을까 싶어요.
변현재
Well, it's
선수의
always
답변도
great to hear
굉장히 좀
Mini's answers.
경쾌하고 가벼운 느낌을 좀 받았는데요.
Let's now
유영진
talk to
선수와 한번
Rush.
대화 나눠보겠습니다.
Hello, Rush.
안녕하세요.
Hello.
안녕하세요.
첫 경기 상대가
Your first opponent
지난
is
시즌 12 결승전에서
the one who defeated you in the
또
finals back in
유영진
season
선수에게
12. It's
아픔을
Mini.
안겨줬던
네.
변현재 선수입니다. 공교롭게 이렇게 또 다시
So,
한번
face off in the
16강에서
round of
만나게
16.
되셨는데요.
You'd
가파적에
want to
있는
take
선수다
revenge
보니까
today, right?
준비도 더 좀 감정이입이 되셨을 것 같은데요. 어떠셨어요?
네, 일단 토스전
Well, I mostly
위주로 좀
practice
많이
for
연습하고,
TVP island maps,
네, 좀
and today's
가볍게
definitely the day of
많아가지고
vengeance.
이기겠다는 마인드입니다.
and I really want to win.
커리어 자체도 유영진 선수 준우승을
Although you came
두번
runner-up
기록하는
twice in ASL, you haven't been able to lift up the
목말라 있는
ASL trophy yet.
상태입니다. 이번 시즌 또 감회가 좀 남다르고
I would think that you'd have a
남다르실
special
것
resolution
같아요.
for this season.
이번 시즌 하다 보니까 좀 가장
I think
많이
this season is
연습하는
the season
시즌인
that
것
I
같아요. 좀
grinded the
연습하게
most.
되고, 좀 폼이
I
좀
practice
좋지 않아요.
endlessly, and yet my current form is
많이 하다
still not good
보니까
enough.
좀 나아지더라고요.
But I'm getting there.
괜찮을 것 같아요 오늘.
조지명식에서는 박준호 선수가 유영진 선수를 일컬어서
Well, during the group nomination, Killer stated that you've gone stale.
연습을 하면서 그래도
But do you feel like you've improved your form a
a
lot during the practice?
연습하면서 일단
Well,
많이
my win rate
지긴
wasn't so good in practice.
그래도 맛이 갔어도
But even if I've gone stale, I could probably still beat Killer,
그래도
right?
강한 자신감을 보여주고 있는 유영진
As always,
선수입니다.
Rush is showing
팬분들은
strong
어떤
confidence.
부분을 궁금해하셨을지
And now we have
전달해
fans'
볼 텐데요.
questions.
먼저 박준호 선수
This one is for Killer.
질문이네요.
네.
You've completely reinvented yourself this season. Have you had enlightenment or did something else motivate you?
사실 예전에는
Honestly,
이렇게 좀 약간
long time ago, I was not that interested in playing StarCraft. I lost the passion, but these days I regained the passion. I'm actually having fun playing the game,
흥미를 붙여가지고 더 열심히.
and I think that's why.
다시 한번 스타에 대한
That's right. Your
애정이
affection for
살아났다.
StarCraft, your passion has
애정과 열정이 살아난 게 또 경기력의
come
비결이
back
아닐까
to-
싶습니다. 이번에는 변현재 선수에게
Alright, this
질문을
one is for Minnie.
보내주셨는데요. 시즌 12 결승전에서
You haven't experienced taking down Russia in the finals.
있는데 이번 16강
How do you think today's match is going to go?
물어봐 주셨습니다.
제가 그래도 대회 때
I mean, in tournaments, I keep on defeating my opponents who I defeated in the past.
이제 결승에서 이기
So since I defeated in the finals, I should have an easy match against him today.
유영진 선수 살짝 좀 흔들릴
Rush
수도 있을 것
seems a little
같은
shaken by
답변을
that
변현재 선수가
statement.
해주셨거든요.
저는 근데 뭐
I mean, for me, I can still
그렇군요.
beat
아,
any
과연
opponent that
결과가
has
어떨지
defeated me in
굉장히
the past.
궁금해지는데
So
이 질문은
that's good with
유영진
me.
선수께 드려보겠습니다.
Alright, this one is a question for Rush.
이재호 선수 시즌 14
In season 13 it was Light, in season 14 it was Royal, in season 15 it was JYJ. Terran has won ASL for 3 consecutive seasons now. What are your thoughts on this pattern, on this trend? And do you think it's your turn now?
질문 주셨습니다.
그렇게 우승하는 거 보면은 저도
Well, whenever I see those guys winning the championship, I feel like this is just a really fine line between the runner-up and the champion. So this season, I really want to have good results as well. So mine, a question for you. During the group nomination, you mentioned that your form was not too great since you took a long break. How did you prepare for all 3 matchups? And what was the win rate like in practice?
연습은 비방으로
Well, I practiced off stream. And I lost a lot of games.
원래 저번 시즌도 연습할 때는
But even last season, I lost a lot of games during practice, so that didn't really affect my tournament performance. So I don't really care about it. Well, we cannot really sense nervousness coming from mine today. Alright, so that's all for the interview with the 4 players. Before they dive into the match, let's hear their resolutions. You first, mine.
일단 이제 오랜만에
Well, this is a new season in a while.
사실 뭐 저번 시즌 시작하기 전부터 스타에 대한
Even
재미로
before the start of the season last season, I gained a lot of interest in StarCraft. But then I took a long break in between,
오늘 뭐 경기
and regardless of the result today, I want to keep on showing my fans good games. Alright, Minnie.
네, 지금 이번에 가을이니까 제가
Well, it's fall today. It's fall now, so I'm gonna try to reach further in ASL and try to make my fans proud. Killer.
굉장히 어려운데 그래도 후회
Well,
없이
the group is very challenging for me, but I'll try my best. Rush.
제가 퐁당퐁당 느낌으로 좀
I have been inconsistent in the past, but this season I want to show more of a consistent performance.
좋습니다. 내부대 멋진
I really look forward to the 4 players'
기대하겠습니다.
performance today. Thank you guys for your interviews.
고맙습니다. 자, 극강 텐션의 어텐션
And that's it for the pre-match interview with the 4 players competing in Group B.
여러분을 기다리고 있습니다.
Who will be the other 2 players to join the round of 8?
준비된 경기 지금
We'll find out now.
What's up, everybody? This is Tastosis and Tastosis here for the round of 16 Group B and what has been an insane ASL so far. So many upsets. Very likely we're going to be crowning a very different champion this season. And, of course, we're going to get closer to drawing that conclusion, as we find out who are going to be our 2 survivors here in Group B today.
Yeah, going to be an excellent group here today. A very hard one to end up predicting. I do think it's going to be a little bit harder for our Zerg player. These are some real Zerg killers that we have in this group here today. But yeah, this is an awesome group. This might be maybe my favorite overall, as it has like 2 of my 4 favorite Terrans. That sounds like too many. Like I have too many favorite Terran players, but like, you know.
It's going to be an interesting one. If you followed the round of 24, we lost so many what we would consider to be potential ASL champions, certainly former ASL champions. we also had a huge surge of Zerg players surviving, with the exception of the two that we thought were the most obvious picks to actually advance, like Jaedong and Queen. But still, a very heavy Zerg group here in the round of 16. We'll see if that remains the case moving forward. But for now, I mean, it's been a very, very different ASL, to say the very least.
Yeah, it's not exactly what I was expecting coming in. I actually thought it would be a much more even keel at this point. But, you know, when you lose players like, for instance, Snow and Light early on to some of these Zerg players, that's what kind of filled it out. But honestly, I think the round of 8 is going to be pretty darn legit. Already, you know, we have that defending champion in JYJ, and we have the Legend of Effort going through. And, I mean, you look at this lineup, and in my mind, as long as Mini gets through, this is a perfect group. You know? Like, I feel like we do need Mini in the round of 8. I think Rush has a real
shot here. Yeah, I mean, I think this is supposed to be Mini and Rush advancing. Mind is kind of a reminder of why we're even seeing, you know, these older players come back and play so well. Mind looked so good last year, totally godlike, really revamping his play style. Effort, of course, this season is already where he wants to be now in the round of 8. Killer, I don't have high hopes for. I know I was comparing Killer to Calm a lot in the early days, and you know, well, not the early days, in the round of 24, but after seeing how well Calm played, I have hopes that Killer can actually play to that level, but I think it's hard to imagine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mini and Rush just seem like a shoo-in to me.
Yeah, Rush is unbelievably strong. Like, these two have even played in the finals before, but, like, Mind shouldn't be underestimated. I think he is, you know, he was always known as, like, his nickname back in the day was the Scholar Terran, because his play style, he's not that fast for a Terran Pro. In fact, he might be the slowest Terran Pro, but he's such a big brain. Like, if you look at his games from last season where he was able to make it to the finals, like, he just knows what to do at all moments and makes better in-game decisions than basically everyone. It doesn't look like his macros better. It doesn't look like his micros better. He's not adhering to strict timing attacks. That's one of the more interesting things that I saw, where it's like a lot of times as Terran, you'd be like, well, I'm going to wait another minute because we're almost done, like 2-1 or something. But he'll just see the window and go. You know, like, he doesn't care about that. He just makes really great decisions over and over. So I don't want to count him out, even though I think the pure strength, the pure power of Rush and Mini is higher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mind, he played a really smart season, and I think he navigated the series well. I think he navigated. He has a way of setting up and kind of creating opportunities for himself. He knows how to intercept the moves a lot of his opponents are going to do, especially in the early game. Killer, I mean, let's give this guy a shot. Let's never count anybody out who's been around a couple ASLs. You know, it's easy when you look at Killer and the rest of the lineup to kind of dismiss the guy entirely, but we've already had so many crazy upsets. I feel like we're almost entering a whole new era of StarCraft 1 as far as who's king and who's passe. We're going to be going to Retro right away here for map number 1. So this is Mind versus Killer and Terran versus Zerg to start out Group B. Okay, we've got Mind here in the top left as our Terran, and in the cross spawns down here in the bottom right is Killer.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Killer is going to bring into this best of 1, more so than anything else he's going to play tonight, I feel like. Because if you have a best of 1 in CBT, I feel like there's some crazy stuff you can pull off. Like, you know, Zerg actually has... Realistically, when you look at it, they might have the most strategies. You know what I mean? Like, the most different things that they can do, especially, I would say, against Terran. Like, I could actually sit here and name, like, 4 or 5 late-game compositions, and then I could name 6 openers that are all legitimate that this guy could do.
It's a good point. I mean, a best of 1 really is, like, a totally different beast. And so, yeah, I mean... Killer. I mean, if Killer's going to win anywhere, I would think it would have to be in a game like this and get that leg up, and maybe you can cheese your way out or do something kind of tricky later on. Always so good to see the foreigners here in the audience.
Steve Jung, of course.
Yeah,
the one
Steve
and
Jung
only.
there as well. I recognize the suit.
Oh, we got some net wars.
This is so
for
cool to
Poland
see.
as well. Oh, I love it, man. They're actually making me
Yeah.
jealous. Damn.
Yeah, I'm glad they made it down there to the studio. I get a message every once in a while on how to get in, and I've heard it's not the most complicated process to get a ticket online, but it's a relief when you see foreigners down there like, okay, they did get in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for Killer here, it's incredible he's made it this far. Mind knows that, you know, this is a Zerg-heavy season. There's a lot of Zergs that are real threats in this. Killer's probably not one of them. I'm always interested in how players approach the game when they have a moment where the you know, they should win this, but they probably can't bring out their secret sauce. They probably don't want to bring out even their best, you know, kind of basic play.
Yeah.
Just because so much of an ASL and a big tournament like this is getting information on other players. And, you know, if you realize, like, oh, that's if this guy has to play on this map, this is sort of what he does. This is his thing. And so, yeah, I mean, let's see what Mind wants to do. But I do think with how far he got in the last season, this is definitely a thing he's going to factor in.
Yeah, that might be a good point. Like, I think if you have a build that will, like, only work once, for instance, that's, like, something you especially don't want to end up showing, right? Like,
Yeah.
we occasionally do see a build. I remember the season that Royal won. Do you remember this build he had where he had, like, I don't know, 8 SCVs and he got, like, a vulture into his opponent's base so quickly? It was like, it was against Hero, and it was like, oh my god, you can't do that twice, you know? Any builds like that, obviously, I think you do have to hold back. But I think just straight up play here from Mind is probably going to be pretty favored against Killer. And, you know, everything looking pretty standard here so far. Mind, of course, has that wall in. He's kind of trying to zone out any overlords from getting near him, trying to zone out any drones from scouting him. And it looks like he's going for a very fast +1 here as well.
Yeah, right now for Killer, everything is very textbook, very normal. The SCV is still on the move, trying to figure out if there is a hidden hatchery or if there's a place they could hide that SCV on the map and check for stuff later. We've seen this build already a couple times, and I guess what you were saying was basically 100% true, Artosis. This is, from Mind, going to be probably a pretty ordinary build. Definitely a build where it's like, well, I'll just rely on my mechanics and my ability to just react to the Zerg and to read what the Zerg's doing. And it's funny, like, there are strategies that could be employed when you play like this as Terran, but truly it is, in some ways, the least strategic in the early game and more about macro, micro, and optimization.
Oh, for sure. I think that that's a huge part of playing both sides of this matchup is just having it, like, really well optimized for exactly what you want to do. Like, how much you need defensively. You need to make as little as possible so that you actually can put pressure on a little bit later. Now, an excellent scout there from Mind. He actually did a mineral walk that he must have clicked a while ago. Gets through those lings on the ramp and actually verifies the third hatchery and the spire timing. So he doesn't even need to utilize, like, any scans or anything for quite some time. He's going to know exactly what's up.
Yeah, I think it really couldn't be better right now with that one little move from Mind. The fact that he got out there and he sees everything he needs to see. Getting the extra SCVs and not needing to make a scanner while still knowing exactly what's coming is huge.
Yeah, that's one of those optimizations you were talking about. That's actually, like, one of the most important things to learn as you're becoming a better Terran player is, like, don't get your comsats right away. That comsat takes the same amount of time as 2 SCVs. So, like, if you can make those SCVs instead, because, like, he sacrifices 1 SCV getting up here, and if he hadn't done that, he would have made at least 1 comsat, probably 2 right away, right? And so he loses 1 SCV, but he gains something like 5, you know? It makes
exactly.
a big difference in how the game will play out.
And you're not guessing for any other ulterior strategies or any other surprises that can come. So, I mean, with Mind being as good of a player as he is, he knows, like, now the eggs have started. So a little bit later, he needs to make those turrets, and we see those coming down now. and he's going to basically be ready for this. And the fact that this was scouted and it's cross spawns, this really couldn't be worse of a start here for Killer. Doesn't mean Killer can't win, but like, man, if these are two horses in a race, Mind is way ahead.
Yeah, his build looks just fantastic. Like, he's getting his turrets up as late as possible because he saw the timing of that Spire. You know, they're going to be finishing just before the Mutas get there, so he's really timed it out perfectly. He's got the 4 barracks going. He already has range and +1 going here as well. So, like, everything looking really nice for him.
A stim comes out, and the turret only taking a little bit of damage. That could be repaired immediately. A double turret stack over here. It seems like for a second, Killer was going to commit onto it, but switches over into the SCVs and any targets that he knows he can one-shot. He gets a couple more. It looks like the Muta count went down for a second to where he couldn't one-shot. Either that or he was missing a shot in there.
He was missing,
it seemed to be kind of half-half.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's 7 Mutas to one-shot the SCV, so... I don't know what happened there. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, that was weird. It's like he killed one, then he didn't kill one, and I'm like, oh, he must have lost one, and then he kills 2 more.
Yeah. Well, now I'm like, oh, maybe we should check the armor. Remember we had that one really weird armor build from, wasn't it Rush in the previous round? Yeah, that was crazy. But I haven't seen or heard of that since, by the way. But yeah, that Mutalisk run in, like, he gets a little bit. He sees the factory timing, so it's like some good info. But you know, Mind is just kind of marching forward with exactly what he wants to do.
The Mutas are just going to continue to roam. I wouldn't be surprised if we had +1 attack finishing here. That's been pretty trendy right now. I don't see a lot of Zerglings on the map, and I don't feel like the Mutas out as they are enough of a threat to pull the infantry back into the main here. Mind's been really good with his control. You know what's funny, man? I never really think of Mind as like a great control player.
Yeah.
And that's kind of weird because his control is actually good. But it doesn't stand out in the same way. I guess it's just that his decision-making is so smart, and he knows when he can micro and when he can't.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I definitely don't think of him as a micro player either. Honestly, I don't think of many Terrans as micro players. I guess when I think about it, it's like it's not like StarCraft 2 where you're like, oh no, Yun is amazing, right? Like, you have to have your micro to be good enough to be a good Terran, but like, you know, it's not like watching Snow Reavers or, you know, Queen Mutas or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He's now pushed pretty far in. There are Lings that can come up from behind along with a pair of Mutalisks, I guess, in that control group. And the armor is going to be done here for the Mutas and not the attack. So that was a misread by me. I thought we were probably going to have Muta attack go here. Muta armor allows you to sustain more in these fights and not be picked off as quickly. He is going to come in and intercept this as well. Do we actually have Valkyries on the way, Artosis?
No, I think he's going into Science Vessels this game. Fairly certain about that. Yeah, I think that's more of a Mind-esque thing. But he is going to stim into this natural and already killing a lot of drones. You have to engage now, and he does have that armor, so there's a chance he can clear this still. But this is very scary. A lot of drones coming down. The Mutas fly over the top of everything. Ling's surrounding, and he will clear this. But I'm going to be honest with you, as Mind, you're not too upset about this. He had to have gotten 6-7 drones there. Plus, he killed a lot of Mutas.
Yeah, I think so. We do see how that armor really illustrates the sustainability you get in a fight with Medic Marine there on the ground. It is a bit of a reset as far as the position for Terran, and there is quite a lot out for Zerg ready to fight again. Was that a scan there just outside of his main?
It might have been, actually. Sometimes that's like the best place to scan is just see if you're about to be attacked, but I didn't actually catch that one.
Yeah, well, he definitely scanned there. That's very interesting. The Hive's done. Mutas are now going to be out and ready to try to attack and swat away another push from the Terran. The Defiler mound has started, and so it's going to be all about getting Dark Swarm in time here. 1-1's done for Mind, and I think we're probably due for another Mind push. I think Terran basically has one more push before Consume is done and Infinite Dark Swarms are ready, and the game is forever different.
Yeah, that definitely is the big changing point in that late game. By the way, we saw that Killer went 3 Evolution Chambers. I wonder if that was purposefully or not. You would think it would not be, because there's like the two big ways to go is like Ling Ultra with Defilers after your Lurkers, or Hydra Lurker Defilers. So I don't feel like you'd ever get 3 Evolution Chambers. Like, that's only a ZVP thing, I think. So not sure about that, but certainly he is getting ready for a longer game with all these upgrades starting.
We have a big push coming down here. I think Zerg could be ready. I don't think we're going to get a shot in the next second here of, how far along Consume is. But, if Terran can get just a little bit further in here and maybe take another fight, especially with 1-1, he's going to try to go around these Lurkers. He kind of has a good split. The Zerglings are here to tank, but one Lurker shot down before the rest of the Lings are, which actually creates a crazy opening. The Defiler's killed. Dude, he's going to run it again. Another Defiler's here. It goes down.
This is so much damage. Oh my god, he gets another Lurker there as well. He's cleaning up so much. Almost got that Nidus, but that was, again, a super, super efficient push. If you keep on getting trades like that, you don't mind if you're losing your Bioforce. It's worth so much.
Yeah, it seemed like Killer had some slippery control there and wasn't able to quite manage. The Defiler's too far out. The dive is real, and I swear, I can't remember when you made this joke, Artosis, but the fact that the Defilers, the number of times you have a Defiler that gets away with 1 HP
yeah.
just for its chasing, it really is a thing, man.
Yeah, people ask me if I could patch StarCraft, what I would do. One of my main things is taking that base armor off the Defiler. It's the dumbest thing in the whole world. I have like all this stimmed infantry going after this little tiny spellcaster, and I just can't kill it. It just wiggles away. It doesn't even need a Dark Swarm to cover itself.
So the number of times I've like tried to just kill a Defiler in a PvZ, and I just pushed it in Dark Swarm and can't kill it with anything now, and I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are very tough to actually get. 2 Irradiates come down. We've seen a lot of mutas and a lot of Lurkers killed off, and that, we're almost at the point where there's enough that have been killed off that Zerg is going to have a hard time actually holding its ground. Killer's going to try to sneak a base into the bottom left, but, this is Retro, and on Retro, it's pretty hard to surprise. Yeah, there we go. Scan immediately. I was going to say that it's pretty impossible to find a base that's easy to sneak, and it's pretty obvious the mains are the only safe places to go after you've taken a third at 6 o'clock as an example. So it looks like Terran's not going to try to push down there now, but is instead going to try to come up here and bust open the ramp, but an Egg's going to come deny that as well.
Yeah, he's mixing a lot of Firebats now. He knows that, Dark Swarm is a big part of this game. Quite a few vessels still here. He has lost a few, so that's at least one thing that Killer has done reasonably well. But, right now, the supply is very low for Killer. And, ooh, a very good Plague and very good Scourge there as well. So, I mean, that's a solid defense, but we're right on the line for Killer where he's barely holding on. Right, that's the one thing I always like to point out in this matchup is like 70 supply is the line where you're just barely alive.
Yeah, a nice little irradiate on that Defiler. You want to keep that Defiler count as low as possible. A denial at the bottom left, and so this very clearly puts Terran in a better position. Zerg really needs to have a 4th base up. 3 bases doesn't cut it. You do have enough gas to be functional, but not overpowering. When you get a 4th or even a 5th gas up, that's when you have funny money at Zerg. Got a little Ling counter attack coming up here, but of course Marines on the outside, ready to stim into the bunkers, is going to make that a no-go for those Zerglings. And really, the game here is pretty simple for the Terran. You have 3 locations to scan: the bottom left main, the top right main, excuse me, and then the center right, or 3 o'clock position on the map, and that's all you're looking for. We see an expansion's going to be, he's going to attempt to sneak one in here, but after you scan those 3 locations, you already know, okay, well, what's the next most obvious spot? It would be the natural of the bottom left main. So Zerg is going to try to take that, but without 4 gases for a while, it is a manageable position where Terran can kind of slowly push through with irradiates, wearing the Zerg down, and maybe eventually breaking him open. If not, for Killer's sake, I hope, we will have a 4th base and, a more long, drawn-out game where maybe Killer can find a way to win. And let's also point out, Terran does have the same situation where there aren't that many bases to take either.
Yeah, but realistically, like, I think he has enough bases right now for the finish, as long as he keeps Killer down on these 3 bases. Now, 4 drop ships going towards the main base, there's like nothing in there whatsoever. This is one of the latest 4 dropship drops that I've seen in this matchup. But yeah, he brings them out. A lot of fire bats mixed in there as well, which is going to make it a lot harder to clean up. So many drones starting to go down. Plagues his own hatchery in here. And Mind is very, very close to winning this game.
It's funny. It's easy for me to forget you can plague your own buildings with Zerg. The Defiler Mound is about to fall. I think there's 1 lurker there to defend. He could probably get the Spire in the hatchery if he's fast enough.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have more than a couple more minutes in this game, if even that.
Well,
yeah, here we go.
You're definitely right. As that 4th base goes down, and you can see the supply, right? Like, he's right on that brink. That 70 supply amount is normally what you need to hold on. And he just he's dangling below it. By the way, he's been supply blocked at 77 forever. Like, I just want to mention that. For like the last 4 minutes, his supply has gone up to 77 of 77 multiple times and not past it. But yeah, Mind actually, this is kind of a funny transition. I think this is actually something I feel like I could learn from, is Mind right now, like, he's super far ahead, and the question becomes, how do I close this out? And he's actually he's adding battle cruisers and tanks?
Yeah, he's really, I mean, I guess there's a little bit of overlap here, but, you know, why not? He's got the money. And at this point in time, Zerg is so broke. There is a push, kind of a YOLO attack up here through the middle. I don't think this is going to last too long. A Dark Swarm goes down. Excuse me. And the Plague is going to chase these guys away.
Yeah, the 3 siege tank, the 3 factory siege tank rather, transition here, probably because he sees Hydra's speed is done, and in fact he does even have that +1 ranged attack. So it seems like there is this transition into that Hydra Lurker Defiler. It's kind of late from Killer, but when you see that, Zerg becomes a lot, you know, harder to kill, and they do have some scary pushes. So like mass siege tanks becomes pretty strong at that point. But honestly, it feels like too little too late from Killer. I don't know how he's going to be able to even utilize an effective composition like this to get a 4th base.
Well, the Terran's going to go right underneath the push up here from the Zerg. If you get enough tanks, Hydra Lurker have a much harder time getting down. There it is, GG, I was going to say. They have a hard time getting through that, but the reality is, like, if you can't keep your 3rd base up, there's nothing left to do. A great game from Mind. I think Killer, you know, he seemed to just be overall a little bit weaker. And, you know, unfortunately is not able to pull it off in that best of 1, which means it's going to be very tough for him to get through a group like this with the players that are left over.
Yeah. Honestly, the other 2 players are even more known as Zerg killers than Mind, even though I think Mind has a very clean, very smart, nice TVZ. So, yeah, Killer, I think this is one of our Zergs that will not be going to the round of 8 likely, but, you know, we'll give him that chance in the loser match. Mind goes ahead, and we'll await the winner of Rush vs. Mini, which just seems like such a crazy, you know, match to have this early in the tournament.
We've had a couple of those already. This is the shot of the drop. This really was the killing blow. I'm glad you pointed out this was like the latest you ever see this drop happen.
Yeah.
With 4 drop ships, I feel like usually it's happening like as Consume is coming. There's some kind of big play as the Zerg's trying to defend a 4th base, that this is the moment that you can pry them open, that you can destabilize them in a way. And, you know, all the workers are killed off. The Defiler Mound goes down, and when Zerg tried to come back and kill this, the Zerg actually failed. The Marines basically just stayed alive and started destroying the Defiler Mound, and I think even the Spire. So, look, man, impressive stuff from Mind, but we're just getting started, guys. Up next, a super exciting match. Mini versus Rush. You don't want to miss it. We will be right back.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 토킹.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성 사이다 제로.
청량한 이 순간 칠성 사이다로부터. 칠성 사이다.
우승과 가장 가까우면서도 가장 먼 존재.
e스포츠에 대한 불만과 바라는 점은
저안 좋아. 웬만하면 돌려 얘기하거든요. 이렇게 다이렉트라고.
신경 좀 넘어갔으면 좋겠다.
그러니까.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for a match that I think we can all agree we're a little bit more excited for. Up next, it's going to be Mini versus Rush.
Yeah, this is an insane match. These guys actually played in an ASL finals. You know, Mini was able to take that. Somehow his fingernails have gotten even longer at this point. But you know,
they really have.
It's actually it's distracting to me. I'm going to close my eyes for this part.
How is it possible to play like that? You know, this is a thing with some guys in Asia that they've grown their nails out a little bit, and some of them feel like it feels better to play games like that.
Yeah, I don't get it.
And it really is a thing. So Mini's that guy. He's going for it.
Sure
I'm curious. I'm curious, man. How this is going to pan out. Mini has had some real ups and downs in his play.
Yeah.
Mini has had these moments where it's like, oh God, he might have broken StarCraft. He's so good. He's so on top of how to win. He knows how to do these really technical rushes with DTs, how to tech into carriers in ways where it seems the Terran can't do anything. But then there's moments where it seems like he's almost gambling more than being strategic.
Yeah.
And, you know, best of ones are not, you know, in his favor, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if he was playing someone way better than himself, I'd be like, yeah, this is great for him. But a lot of times, he'll actually be better than his opponent and take the insane risk. And it's like, dude, your base skills can do this. Like, really. But honestly, I appreciate it as well. Because, you know, taking risks and, you know, going over slightly over the edge and stuff is a big part of being a great StarCraft player. And he exemplifies that more than anybody, but it does seem like if he could pull it back a little bit, he would never not be at least round of 8. You know, like he
doesn't
always
seem to be
there.
as. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's the best tournament player, even though he has won an ASL before. But this is another chance for him here. He's one of the top players still alive in this ASL. So we're going to start this other best of one out, guys. Rush and Mini. The winner goes on to face off against mine. Let's do this. Okay, we've got Mini here in the top right. And we've got Rush down here in the very bottom right. Now, it's the map Retro again. And, you know, this is, I think, actually a pretty interesting map for PvT.
Yeah.
Terran almost just can't get a 5th base on this map. Which, look, from the Terran's perspective, that's bad. But Protoss actually also can't get that many more bases either. It does seem like the real winning play for Protoss, if we're going to go into a really long game, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on the Tastosis. The winning play for the Protoss is, and I know this is true on some maps, but I think it's more true on here, to get gateways up in all 3 of the mains.
Oh, yeah.
And run the clock.
That is a great way to go about it and try to get a victory. That's like, I think, and you're right, that's kind of a thing on all maps. That's like one of the main things that you learn as a Terran player is you can't let Protoss get 3 mains. 2 mains, absolutely playable. 3 mains, absolutely not playable. Like, you'll never grind them down at that point. But yeah, that's one of the things about the map is, you know, it's harder for Protoss to get a bunch of bases, but the same is true for Terran. The one feeling I get for Terran on this map is you get basically one completely maxed out army. It is so hard to remax on this map. It's like, even the big macro games that I have seen and I have played on this map, it's like you get one maxed army and then the rest of the game is at 150 supply. Because it's just, there's just not a lot of bases. Even getting the 4th base is really tricky. A lot of times the 5th base will even, if you get a 5th or maybe you lose a 4th, you take the center base, which is crazy. This is like the most commonly taken center base for TVP on any map. I enjoy it because it really does make the matchup play out a lot differently.
It kind of forces both of the races to really engage with each other.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about, like, okay, you can't let the Protoss get both mains up, which is 100% true. If you can get, like, you know, 5 to 10 gateways in each of the mains, it's like, oh, well, we'll figure it out. We'll just rely on Psystorm or whatever else we're going to do. Like, we'll make this work, because there's no way to ever isolate all the gateways. So the Protoss always bleed out into different areas of the map, and you can punish the Terran. But, you know, for a map like Polypoid example, that's one where Terran can get 5 bases. Let's say you're in cross spawns. It's not the easiest thing, but, like, it can be done. And that's a huge problem for Protoss, because then the game can go on forever and you could still sometimes lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the center expansion is a really important one, especially for the Terran. That little egg shape in the middle of the map, that is that's a valuable location that sometimes Terran have to push out to and try to control. And the middle of this map, by the way, not as big as you might think. I think this map might look bigger than it actually is in the middle, but there's not a whole lot of room to run around. By the way, are we going to see the eBay come down here? Is that what we're watching? No?
It doesn't seem like he'll quite be able to do that. He needs to get his own command center down. But there's actually, while we've been kind of describing this map, and it is interesting, I actually want to continue on that for a moment, but we had just an interesting opener I just want to mention. Like, Rush was trying to do a gasless expand, and then he looked at the timings of everything and said, oh, there's a Zealot on the way. Brought SCVs down. It was a great read because he didn't see the Zealot, but he knew it was coming based on what he saw in Mini's main. And he made the bunker immediately, got his gas, and then went for the later command center, but it still lines up with Mini's. So that was, like, super expertly done. Very, very good openers, very back and forth there. These are not builds you want to copy, but, like, decision-makings you want to look at. But actually, just one more thing about the map, Tasteless. Someone mentioned this to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to believe it because I actually enjoy Retro. I like to play on it. I like to watch games on it because it is kind of challenging and interesting in these ways. But it's actually kind of a modified version of Fighting Spirit.
I 100% agree with that. I think the same person was in my chat.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, if you look at it, it is a very Fighting Spirit. In the spirit of Fighting Spirit, like, there's a little bridge that goes to a pretty easy to secure 3rd base.
Yeah.
And that's about it. But I think the bridge is a little bit easier to navigate and harder to cut people off from getting into. The middle, the fact that we don't have the temple walls that are on Fighting Spirit, that's interesting. But the truth is, Fighting Spirit has the same number of bases.
Yeah.
And I've always thought about that when I play Fighting Spirit. Like, when I'm against a Zerg or, you know, certain positions against a Terran, I'm like, I only have to watch for 1 base they can take a lot of times. And so that makes trying to take another base really hard. On other maps where you have a lot of different possible bases, you can do a lot of little mind games and try to run around. And sometimes you can decide, okay, I'm not going to look for that right now. I'm going to focus on trying to get my own stuff up. But yeah, I do think that this was actually heavily influenced by Fighting Spirit, and it seems like neither of us noticed that right off the bat.
Yeah.
But playing a couple games on it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Fighting Spirit with some very different ideas.
Certainly, and it's a much better map without any doubt because Fighting Spirit's garbage. But taking a look at these builds here, you know, it's a 2-factory from Rush, so there's a decent chance he'll try to put some sort of pressure on, but Mini is getting a very, very fast Reaver here. So, you know, he'll come across the map with that Reaver, but already 3 missile turrets are being constructed. So that's already some pretty decent anti-Reaver defense. Now, he's going to move out with this 3-tank push at a very nice time. I believe he has speed and mines on the way. That's my guess there. But like a perfectly timed move out where you're going to have to defend with that Reaver.
Yeah, and this is one of the advantages about doing this very quick Reaver build is that you can create defense. And I think a lot of times 1 to 2 Scarabs, and it's like, you got to go home. He's going to lead with the SCV. That SCV is going to be pinged by the Reaver, not killed off, but that, I think, may cause Rush to turn around. But I see 2 Vultures heading up here northbound. The blocking, well, okay, that was actually some pretty good blocking. It's a pretty good decision-making by Rush to turn around, because I think that was good enough that neither of them would have actually gotten in.
Yeah. And Mini decides to go now. This is the funny thing that happens in this exact position. Sometimes I think it's smart to leave your tanks out and wait, because the Protoss wants to fly in with the Reaver. And as soon as they do that, you can actually attack. Like, Rush's army is better. And it turns into a little bit of a base tradey situation. So Mini comes in here, and he has the Zealot, he has the Reaver, gonna go ahead, take this turret down very quickly. And now Rush turns around, but it feels like he was maybe a little bit late to decide this.
He's still got that Reaver and the Zealot on the move here. One more Reaver. One more Zealot inside if he has to use that to bait. There are Dragoons on the high ground outside the 3rd base. Just 2 of them, though. The Reaver's halfway to getting up there, and Rush hasn't really committed. It seems like Rush wants to go for a dive. Now, never underestimate what one Reaver with a speed shuttle can actually get done. Like, it's insane. But he just has to kind of stay out of reach of the rest of whatever Terran has. They can one-shot Vultures if the Vulture's not moving. Obviously, they can one-shot... Oh!
Some pretty sick shuttle and Reaver and Zealot usage there, but it does look like Rush is going to be able to deny this additional base, and now maybe a counterattack towards that main base of Rush. But if Rush keeps his units in his main, look at that, he sees the shuttles come across with that mine and moves back into position. I think he'll be able to block this reasonably well, right?
Yeah, I think you might be right. Let's see. It depends on if he can juggle the Reaver or not. Actually, I guess no matter what, he really can't, huh? He's going to have the Reaver set up down here. He'll get, I think, one shot that won't connect.
It's like that.
It's just, yeah.
Great pickup right there. So many SCVs. Dude, that's so scary when the SCV's coming in, the Reaver is there. Oh my God. But he will end up getting it. The Reaver dies, the shuttle dies, the SCVs continue to dance all over the place. And who's ahead after all that? I have to say Rush.
Oh, Rush is certainly ahead. You know, we joke about when pro gamers try to cast games and they always like say the game's over after the first mistake is made, because that's how you have to look at the game to get better. I am totally ready to make one of those pro gamer calls where I'm like, well, that's it. You can't win now. Mini's going to be forced to expand towards the Terran. It does seem like more and more Protosses are able to get away with this with very specific types of shuttle Reaver play. The problem is we lost 2 shuttles, we lost 2 Reavers, and it's a pretty big reset. He's going to pick up 4 Zealots for Zealot bombing. But, I mean, it would seem to me like Rush, from the way the rest of this game could go, could just push out and kill this. And, Retro really is revealing itself to be the kind of map we talked about where there's just not a lot of places to go when you want to expand, right?
Yeah.
And so he's going to take this base that's pretty accessible, honestly, for Rush.
Yeah, if he just makes sure that his main base is defended reasonably well, there's a real clear push path to that 3rd. Maybe if that takes a long time, Mini can do something and expand towards the top left. But I'm looking at this, and this is strategically, I think, for a map like this, one of the best things you can do. You know how Rush had those units out in the map that he killed 12 with? Well, he put them in the top left. And that's so messy to clean up. That is so messy to clean up for Protoss. It takes so much attention, so many units to go in there and actually bust those few tanks that are on high ground with Marines, that, like, that'll deny those 2 bases for a really long time.
You know what's funny? For some reason in my head, that was a group of Vultures, but I just remembered, yeah, the Reavers never killed the tanks.
Yeah.
So that is a really smart move, because, when Protoss are playing Reaver-heavy games, sometimes, like, especially when you're trying to be aggressive, having a couple of Terran units, like, on the opposite side of the map like that, it's like, I just can't get over there. I can't get observers over there. There's too much to actually deal with. then I can't really use my APM to get that unit back over there. By the way, that push is coming out now. The missile upgrade for the Goliaths is done, so the range is really scary. It makes it a lot harder to just even engage at all with shuttles with speed, Reavers or Zealots or anything. You can just lose the shuttles almost immediately. So this may be Mini's last stand coming up here.
And not just this, Tastosis, a lot of Mini's army is down at 6 o'clock trying to deny a base, so that's way out of position. And now that army from the top left comes back and will deny 12. I think Rush is playing such a good game here. Like, everything he's doing is working out super well.
Yeah, I guess he did siege one of those tanks too close to hit the Nexus. That's a funny look, but yeah, I mean, I think if he targets down the Nexus, he might kill it, but unfortunately, yeah, he's not able to do that, so the tanks are dropped. The Reaver's still doing a little bit of work, guys, but oh man, these probes can't get out. There's actually a lot. Look how many probes are over here.
That's terrible for him. Like, he saves that 12 o'clock Nexus because of the bad siege from Rush, but he is going to end up losing all the probes and this Nexus, and Rush can take that base. Rush's supply is very, very high right now. When you're even supply with Protoss around these numbers, you're so happy.
Yeah, he's going to try to evacuate some of those probes. It looks like Rush is actually going to miss the opportunity to execute a lot of those probes that are just hanging behind the minerals. A counterattack comes in, but you can see Rush already knows what kind of game he's playing right now. He's got the 2 tanks that stay back to catch anything else coming out here. Oh my God, these workers.
Yeah, catches that at the last moment. Dragoon's trying to push in here, but there's just a bit too much defense from Rush. Having tanks on high ground, a couple more popping out, and that's going to be GG. Rush is going to be able to take down Mini in this best one. A very cool game from both sides, but I think that Mini overcommitted with the when he went in with the double shuttle and there was like turrets everywhere and 3 tanks in siege mode. I don't know why he did that. That really felt like Rush was going to easily stop it.
I agree. Retro is a punishing map. You can see Mini cursing himself right now. You know, when you lose that base right at the start, it's pretty tough for Protoss to recover from. You can, but against a player like Rush, he's going to know exactly how to box you in, especially on Retro. I think early game on Retro is a really delicate thing. You got to really know exactly what you're doing to get to a place where you're going to have a playable game. And Rush made sure that never happened.
Yeah, it was really beautifully done, which means, Tasteless, and I know you're going to be excited about this and you haven't thought about this yet, we're going to have a TVT best of 3. Our first of the tournament.
Oh no. And with ZVZ being so good, I can't tell you how hyped I am to go back to my favorite mirror matchup originally. No, this should be a cool one though, in all seriousness. And I think Rush can take it, but don't count Mind out. Mind might just walk out of this group.
Oh yeah.
Because he was able to easy peasy kill her, and he's just a solid TVT player.
Yeah.
Guys, short break. We will be right back.
우주급 텐션 최고의 토킹 핫식스 토킹.
난 무조건 이 선수랑 같은 조에 있어야 된다. 내 손으로 떨어뜨릴 준비가 되어 있다.
여기 있네. 어차피 뭐 이 사람은 뽑을 수가 없으니까 저 뽑는다면 아마 이 친구를 뽑지 않을까.
여기 경찰분.
아, 경찰분.
준호가 어딨지?
여기 있어, 여기 있어.
네, 두 사람.
두 선수가 1순위다.
여기는 이제 거의 0순위, 그러니까 S 플러스급 1순위인데 이제 여기는 A급 1순위. 좀 차이가 많이 나긴 해요, 사실.
이 두 선수가 좀 맛있어요, 제일.
브레인인데? 1인 실자인데?
테란을 안 만나서 둘 다. 이번에 한번 만나봐야 되지 않나.
제가 한 번 만난 적이 있거든요. 김민환 선수를 잡고 상황으로 갔기 때문에 이제 또 다시 안 올 기회라고 생각하거든요.
고민을 1도 안 하시네요.
네. 아무래도 조금 나이 수도 있고 손이 작동을 잘 안 하는 느낌이에요.
아, 김민환 선수에게 제가 이 질문을 한다면 김민환 선수는 누굴 뽑을 것 같으세요?
저 뽑을 것 같은데.
얘 만나고 싶어. 솔직히 얘 만나고 싶은데.
프라이드 D가 맞아버렸네. 그럼 반대로 이 선수는 진짜 같은 조에 있고 싶지 않다. 절대 안 뽑을 거다.
제가 준비 잘하면 다 이길 수 있다는 생각이죠. 네.
16강 정도 되면 다 잘한다 생각하거든요. 이런 한 명 빼고는 누가 봐도 다 세고.
오, 또 바로
사진이 근데 무슨 옛날에 ASL 8강에 올라갔을 때도 성균이한테 3대0을 졌어요.
아, 다전제에서.
그리고 저그전을 너무 잘해가지고 제일 까다롭지 않나.
딱 2명 보이거든요.
이거 다.
딱 기억해서.
오, 이유를 좀 한 명씩 들어볼까?
최근에 좀 박상현 선수가 엄청 잘하거든요. 온라인에서 엄청 잘하기 때문에 이번 시즌도 우승 후보라고 생각하고 있고 항상 4강까지는 엄청 잘 가기 때문에 24강, 16강에서는 이제 두 선수랑 만나기가 좀 별로 싫어요.
내가 생각하는 종족 징징 1위.
여기 있는 사람 중에서요?
네.
저인 것 같은데. 저그가 좀 약한 느낌? 좀 허무하게 지는 게 많아진 것 같아요.
오, 유영진?
ASL 10맵이 나오면 항상 먼저 보고 항상 피드백이 제일 먼저 이루어져요. 테란들이 좀 이제 조용한 사람들이 좀 많거든요, 생각보다. 본인이 나서지 않으면 절대 안 바뀐다, 테란은.
피드백에 굉장히 적극적인
어쩔
선수.
수가 없어요, 이거.
참고로 본인이 한번 뽑히긴 했어.
그쵸? 근데 제가 좀 그런 말 많이 나와요, 근데.
그초가 나오네.
네, 뭘 뽑아야 되나 생각하고 있긴 했어요. 대회만 쓰면 모르겠는데 또 평소에도 맨날 쓰다 보니까 이게 나중에 좀 부담이 될 때가 있더라고요.
굉장히 적극적으로 피드백을 하는
돈 벌어야지.
뽑으려고 했다.
저 뽑을게요.
경기적인 내용이 아니더라도 이 선수 요건 좀 부럽다.
좀 다양하게 있는데 그렇게 따지면?
그럼 요소별로 한 명씩 뽑아볼까?
솔직히 일장형이 우승은 없지만 항상 잘 올라가는 것 같아요. 그래서 이제 경기력에 대해 제일 부럽고 외모적인 부분은 저는 솔직히 유난이요.
오.
유난이가 엄청 잘생겼다고 생각해요. 옛날부터 봐왔지만 전체적인 부러운 거는 약간 도재욱 선수?
오.
벌써 사진부터 좀 약간 느낌이 있잖아요.
벌써 남들의 부러움을 한 몸에 받는 그런
네, 그래서
느낌의
약간
사진이야?
욕심이 많기 때문에 방송도 잘 되고 게임도 잘하는 택신.
아.
태경이 형이 인기도 많고 게임도 잘하고 외모도 잘생겼고
패션은 어때?
그나마 얼굴 때문에 이 정도로 받쳐주지 않나 생각합니다.
이 사람이 제일 부럽습니다. 16강만 가도 거의 우승한 것 같은 느낌이 들잖아요. 벌써 좋아하고 있잖아요. 웃고 있잖아요. 16강 왔다고.
좀 그래도 유난히 형이 좀 부럽네요. 잘생기고 뭐 팬들도 많고 그러니까 성격도 좋고.
그러면 여동생이나 누나가 있다면
네.
소개시켜주고 싶다?
빡세죠.
아니, 부럽다며.
좋은 사람인데 가족 소개는 돼.
좀 겉과 속이 좀 다른,
네.
이미지가 좀 다른 선수.
근데 이 신기하게 게임 스타일도 자기 좀 성격 따라가나 봐요. 보통 다 비슷하긴 해요.
저희 사퇴했습니다.
김태형 선수.
자신감이 너무 넘치는 것 같아요. 제가 생각했을 때 티어표 이거 수정됐을 때도 저보러 가티어 홀이라고 그러고 얘도 홀인데
그러면은 지금 박준호 선수가 생각하는 최고의 16강 조는 요렇게 시드 한 명이겠네요?
여기 들어가면 저 8강 갔죠.
근데 현재가 좀 다른 게 현재는 게임 스타일은 되게 비호감이고 버릇 없고 그런데 근데 굉장히 예의 바르고 물어보면 잘 알려주고 연습 잘 도와주고 그래요. 네.
아무래도 비조가 제일 조금 사람들이 탐내할 만한 조인 것 같고 제가 언더독일 때 이기는 거 더 좋아해서 자신 있습니다.
시리즈 중에서 제일 할만해요. 가능성이 없어 보이면 포기할 수도 있는데 해볼만 하다는 생각을 좀 해봤어요. 진짜로 잘해볼 수 있도록 해보겠습니다.
한 시즌 쉬고 여기 오니까 너무 어색한 것 같아요. 이번에 높게 올라가고 계속해서 이제 참가할 수 있는 그런 선수가 되겠습니다. 이번에는 꼭 우승에 한번 도전해 보도록 하겠습니다.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here at the ASL, and it's TVT time.
About time, Tastosis. Definitely two amazing players. They've both been to the finals before here, so it should be a great Terran versus Terran. I think they probably both prepped a little bit for TVT at least, thinking that this was a reasonable, expectation to play each other in the group. And honestly, I'm excited to see the map lineup because some of these maps play real funky in TVT, Tasteless.
Yeah, that's a good point. Whenever I look at a map, I'm always thinking like PvZ, like how do I wall in? What does PvP look like? Where can you lock people out with Dragoons? But you're right, with the newer maps, man, it makes for some very interesting no man land No men's land? How many lands of no men?
Yeah.
You can create a no men's land in so many different spots on some of these new maps. But I guess we're going to go with a classic to start it off here. It's going to be Polypoid. By the way, everybody, this is a best of 3, and the winner goes on to the round of 8 here in the ASL. Okay, we've got Mind here in the bottom left, and that gives us Rush down here in the bottom right. A map I think we're all very familiar with if you guys have been playing or following competitive StarCraft for the last couple of years. What is your take on the state of TVT on this map right now, Artosis?
Yeah. So this is a big macro map. Generally speaking, there's like a lot of very defendable positions. If someone gets a big siege lineup, it's like, well, as long as you have a lane out, you can get over to another part of the map. And this is a 16-base map too, let's not forget, right? So like there are so many resources here. Your opponent might be able to get a decent position on you, but as long as they aren't on like the high ground outside your natural, if anyone gains that, the game is going to end very, very quickly. But it's not too likely. So on Polypoid, it's pretty common to get like a very fast expansion. I wouldn't be surprised, for instance, if Rush goes for a gasless expand. He does like those quite a bit, but Mind is good at punishing them. But other than that, this poor guy. It's like the only old guy in the audience. Like, guys, come on, everyone likes this game. But yeah, let's see what they end up actually opening with, because whoever opens in like a slightly advantaged way with vultures, generally that's going to dictate how the game is going to flow.
We had all these new maps added to this season of ASL, and shortly after that we had all those same maps added to the map pool for ladder. Thank God, by the way. Not complaining about that. That was a very welcome change. I was starting to feel like every time I started a game on Eclipse, I'm like, I got to get out of this town and see the world, man.
I know.
I've been on Eclipse my whole life.
Dude, it was actually in the pool for something like 4 years. It like doesn't even make sense.
It was so long. I'm like, I've had way too many technical games on this map for how bad I am at this game. It's just everybody had really, really unpacked it. So, with that first statement I was making, I was going to ask you a question. In each of these matchups, a lot of times when maps are new, there are certain ways people play because they're trying to figure the map out. Like, Protoss will try to figure out, okay, can I cannon rush behind the minerals versus Zerg? Or Zerg will be like, what kind of Hydra busts or Zergling busts are available? And this is all very normal, right? In all the matchups, there's like a couple moves you're always looking for. What are those moves or ideas that are at play for Terran players right when there's a new map out?
Oh, for like Terran versus Terran specifically?
Yeah.
So you want to look at like the terrain. If there's like, for instance, on Apocalypse, what you're going to see is heavy vulture, because you have those like double ramps that go down. If anyone gets tanks up there, you can't break it. Like, it just will not be a base that can be broken. And so anytime you have a position like that where it's actually reasonable for your opponent to just destroy you by controlling the map, some maps that we've had like that in the past, like Fighting Spirit, for instance, is just a 2-base map. It's like whoever gets the bridge wins. I feel like Apocalypse will probably be a map like that. Polypoid has that high ground at the 3rd, which makes you basically invincible once you take that yourself, right? Like, you're just not going to die, and you have access to basically 4 bases at that point. So definitely this one, not as much. But actually, La Campanella is kind of an interesting one, where a lot of the middle is like kind of buildable, and if you get that containment up, even the close-by bases can be sieged, right? Like, you can prevent gases from being taken. So, it's more about like strong positioning that can be taken that you're looking at on some of these new maps.
We've got the vultures doing a little dance around each other right here in the middle of the map. Both the barracks are going to be tanking damage through here to try to confirm what's going on, but I think at this point in time it's pretty obvious, at least up until now, they're doing basically the same thing. Are we going to get the second factory here for Mind, or will he make a starport? He goes for a second factory as well.
Yeah, both sides not making add-ons yet. This is pretty trendy at the moment. We oftentimes see like 4 vultures even before an add-on. Because if you don't make at least 3, then oftentimes your opponent will just attack in and wreck you. And in fact, it looks like Rush is going to go up to 4, and we have 3 for Mind. So as long as Mind falls back into a more defensive position, he should be all right. And in fact, he just saw that there's an add-on on the way, right? So he might push across right now.
Yeah, let's see if that's going to be the case. We've got the Vultures moving out. The tank presumably is being made right now in here. Do you want to lead with the Vulture or the Marine?
You want to lead with the Vultures. The Marines actually have higher DPS and die in 2 shots. It takes 8 Vulture hits to kill Vulture. So, yeah, you see him get in here. He waited exactly just to the last second when he got his 4th Vulture up. And this is why a lot of people go for Vulture. You know, you can see this is a slight advantage to Rush, but Mind has dealt with it pretty well. He pulled the SCVs quickly, and in fact, will end up taking out both these if he doesn't lose this one. Wow! That was a great defense from Mind, because that started a little bit Rush favored because he was killing a few SCVs, but Mind ends up holding, like, really brilliantly. And, you know, now he's got the faster add-on, so he should have slightly faster speed from him, and they're both on 3 factory Vultures. So after killing 2 additional ones, Rush has to play more defensively.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky moment here. You know, I honestly, when I saw Rush moving in, I'm like, oh, because I guess I'm such a fan of Rush. I'm like, oh, he's got this. This is going to be pretty doable. I like the spacing out of the factories, by the way. If the barracks wasn't going to swing this way, I think he actually saw it, but it didn't show up.
He might have
there, but
if you don't see the third
placement
factory,
is very deliberate by Mind.
Yeah, if you don't see the 3rd factory, it's actually like really weird. By the way, with that siege tank coming out, this is a terrible moment for Rush. Oh, he got his own, thank God. I was like, this is going to end right away, Tasteless. That one, like, if you get a siege tank out and your opponent is only making Vultures, it makes it really difficult. But notice how Rush takes the high ground. He'll be able to swoop down and choose what he's targeting. His own tank coming out, oh God, he loses the first shot there. That is kind of a big deal. But look at this, Rush comes down from the high ground. Not good targeting, though. Very poor targeting, in fact. Yeah, that's a little bit rough. Like, Mind takes this just based off of poor micro there from Rush.
Yeah, bad decision making. Marines are being made out of that barracks, by the way. The tank, you know, Vultures are so weak, it takes so long to kill tanks that the tank, it almost becomes like a Warcraft 3 hero in these games where the fights happen. That's the Tauren Chieftain tank. It's going to stomp and stun all these SCVs. And now it's going to, you know, the Vultures are going to dive back in here. I don't know if this game goes on for much longer. Yeah, there it is, GG. You know, TVT, I think, especially in the olden days, we thought of it as a matchup that had to go on for a long time. That is not true in the modern day.
Yeah.
It can go on for a long time, but it certainly doesn't have to.
Yeah, yeah. So just to make this clear, so did Mind outdid Rush when Rush went for the later add-on? And then Rush took that high ground with his Vultures and then came down, but he didn't target. It was an attack move. 8 Vultures will one-shot a Vulture, and he had more than 8 there, and they were shooting 3 different Vultures at once. If you focus fire, you can snowball Vulture wars really, really, really quickly. Like, for instance, his tank was being targeted by Mind pretty quickly, which isn't a terrible choice, but if he targets down every Vulture 1 in a row, right, you target one, you target one, you target one, suddenly you're up 3 Vultures. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, the siege tank doesn't matter as much at this point. You can kill all the Vultures, then you can kill the siege tank. So definitely, that was like, he literally lost that game right there. Not that he was going to win if he targeted, but if he had targeted well, 100% the game is still going on. There's no way Mind kills him.
It did seem like the tank was very well placed by Mind. Like, he had it just kind of tucked there in the back. It's Vultures are tricky, too, because, like, they have a little bit of a startup on their movement, and they have a slide when they stop.
Yeah.
So if you misplace them, it's you know, it's kind of like they're on a little bit of an ice skating rink. And it can be hard to kind of reposition them. So there really is an art to that. Tastosis, you say the map.
La Campanella.
La Campanella. Let's go on to this super weird map that I can only imagine is going to cause some headaches here in TVT. In general, this is a very different map. Dropships are going to be central here. Yeah. Again, it doesn't have to be a long game, but man, if it becomes a long game, it's going to be a crazy one.
It really is. This map is a huge headache in Terran vs. Terran. I don't have any idea how you're really supposed to play it. You know, you look at the layout and you're like, oh, maybe Vultures are good here, but then dropships, as you said, pink.
Okay, we've got Mind in the bottom right. In this cross spawn game, that's going to give us Rush. Upper left. I saw Rush eating chocolate. I'm going to say this out loud, and maybe my stream can remind me to actually do this because they're going to watch the spot and then come back in there. I have not tried consuming dark chocolate before a StarCraft game. That is super popular in StarCraft, in chess, and a lot of these intense mind games. Just not like a whole candy bar, but maybe, you know, a little bite. And that gives you the right kind of sugar kick to stay focused in the next game. But have you actually messed with dark chocolate? We might have even talked about this like at some point in time in another cast.
I'm sure we must have over the years. We've been in this too long not to have talked about every subject. But like dark chocolate, like I kind of like dark chocolate. I've done in tournaments I've gone to, like done things like purchase like nuts or bananas and brought those with me. The thing is, what you don't want to do is give yourself like a sugar rush. Like you don't want like a Snickers bar. Dark chocolate is like less sugary, so it's better at the energy flow or whatever. And of course, stuff like fruit and that stuff can be good. But yeah, I don't think I've tried specifically like. Actually, I remember trying regular chocolate back in like 2003, but I think I didn't really know about dark chocolate back then.
I got to try this. I'm going to do it wrong, too. I'm going to do it during a stream day all day where it's like I just have, like, I go through 3 giant dark chocolate bars every time I stream.
Dude, be careful about that, man.
I'm so good, but I'm also diabetic by the end.
Yeah.
I'm S rank and also missing a foot from diabetes.
Not just that, but you're also going to get constipated from that much dark chocolate.
That's why I don't have to leave my chair, man.
Yeah,
I'm just all backed up.
Oh, my God. You really figured it out.
I just get to S rank and I just shoot out of my chair like a geyser. But I do want to mess with that a little bit and just see if that helps at all. I've switched from doing really heavily caffeinated drinks to just doing green tea, and I find that that's a pretty good balance of caffeine.
Yeah. I still do coffee. I actually stopped coffee for like weeks and felt so much better. And then I had a coffee during my stream and I destroyed everybody. It was like the weirdest thing. Yeah. It was like it actually.
It's like a performance-enhancing drug.
Yeah.
If you haven't taken it in a while, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I got to get on some sort of cycle like that so I can have those super days occasionally.
Yeah. No, it's it really does make a difference. Currently, my relationship with coffee is I'm a drug addict. Like I need it right when I get out of bed. Like no one's allowed to talk to me or look at me until I've had a cup.
My alarm goes off for this, and the very first thing I do is go brew a pot of coffee, and then I message you. I'm like, okay, I'll be on in a couple minutes.
So let's talk about the map first. There is basically an island base at 12 o'clock. 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. But the expansion itself points into the middle of the map, which is very accessible by ground. So I don't know what role these bases play yet, at least in TBT.
Yeah. So I think that the big aspects here, right, there is a small path after you mine it out from your minerals to get behind there by walking. But it's thin and it's way on the side. So it's like, it's very tempting for dropships. But if you get a containment up, you're basically denying that base that someone can get if they do try to play with air superiority. So there are some hard choices to make. You can see Rush here is going to get a starport really quickly, and so is Mind. So both of them looking at this and saying, you know what? Dropships are just too tempting here. And obviously they'll open Wraith, like you don't just go dropship immediately, just to make this clear. But like when you open with that, that's like the quickest way you're going to get a dropship is like open Wraith with tank, add factories, and then get a dropship.
Yeah, I mean, Wraiths are basically like a stop along the way. It's logical to get Wraiths out because they also answer dropships if you're able to use them correctly.
Also, one thing to note is when you both open with the exact same opener that has Wraiths in it, sometimes you will get into a Wraiths arm race, which is really, really incredibly silly. There's like, it's not very well mapped out, to be honest. It was actually better mapped out way back in the old days when Wraiths were really popular. They're not as popular anymore because Vultures are more popular, but like if you both end up going Wraiths, it's like, okay, well, do you add the second starport? Obviously you need Cloak, and occasionally you even see someone get quick Valkyries, which gets really funny because it'll be like 3 Wraiths and a Valkyrie against 5 Wraiths or something.
The area behind your natural is also droppable with tanks. I've seen this in a couple games of PvP where they get a Reaver back there. It's hilarious, but the same idea with siege tanks where like they can tank up and you're suddenly not using your natural. So, funnily enough, there are things about this map that actually remind me of Lost Temple, like the original Lost Temple, where we've kind of gone back and given you a weird area behind your natural that, you know, they don't have to use it, but if you're not ready for your opponent using that, you could just lose the game outright.
Yeah. And it's really hard to clear if stuff gets back there. Like, even if you have those minerals mined out, like to go through like single file and, you know, further away from where they landed for sure. It's tricky. There's a lot of trickiness about this map. I'm not joking. It's a headache to play in Terran vs. Terran. There's so many things that can go wrong. You know, you'll think you're way ahead, and then dropships fly in at the right location. You're like, oh damn, this is bad.
You know, we're talking about Lost Temple, which I know that there are people that are watching that are just, you know, having a nostalgia trip just thinking about that map, but for those of you that didn't know it, for those of you that did, let me just remind you that almost every game on that map with how bad everybody was like cannons on above your natural, tanks above your natural, a hatchery and sunken colonies above your natural, maybe with guardians, where it's like, that was for a period of time when that was the popular map. That was like, I'm like, well, this is what StarCraft is you try to build things above your opponent's second base and then never leave.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's just, people didn't know how to make maps back then, and then, you know, as people played a bunch, it was like, oh, you can really exploit this.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's chance to miss shooting up to high ground, so it was like really punishing. Just having a map where there was this, you know, plateau with no access from the low ground up above your high ground where you could just shell people from. So that was one of the first things they got rid of. And maybe not first generation maps, but maybe third generation maps of StarCraft. People kind of figured out, okay, we don't want really anything around the natural, but this is one of the more crazy maps that are available in the game, and so we're seeing this area be used right now.
Yeah.
Again here with this Wraith attack, but we'll probably see a lot more attention in that general direction as we get more games on this map.
Yeah, I think so. Looking here, Rush went for a second starport, so he decided, but look, see, there's the Valkyrie. Like, this is something only done at the pro level that people see. He loses it so quickly. I don't like it. Okay, this is why I kind of talk about it tongue-in-cheek, where it's like, yeah, you might actually see like low Wraith amounts with Valkyrie out, because stuff like that can happen where the Valkyrie is not cheap. 250, 125 with 3 supply and a good build time. It's like, that's pretty expensive, and it got picked off quickly here. It definitely feels like Rush's Wraiths are outdoing the anti-air of mind at the moment.
Well, the Wraith to be micro like a Muta, and a Valkyrie is a funny thing. It's like one of those slow Gatling guns that were fought in wars in the past where you had to like turn a crank to make it shoot, and it had to build up and heat up and eventually fire out. But a lot of times it's no match for, you know, a couple of Wraiths that are pretty quick. By the way, Mind is moving out across the map, and Rush is here to meet him.
Yeah, Rush is getting into a more forward position. He wants to make sure that he can secure some of these bases. Clears out for that third base that's on the normal ground, and sieging in front of it, right? So it makes all this makes a lot of sense. I think if Mind attacks up into that, he's going to be screwed. Okay, he just sieges. He has a little bit more map control at the moment, but it's not really that impactful. And look at that, he's flying around with Valkyrie stasis.
Yeah, he has pushed up into Russia's side of the map. He's going to be controlling this left center area that you can kind of move through. And we're going to see, you know, how exactly Rush is going to deal with it. I think it's going to be a little bit before he can really do that much. He's just going to have the barracks to float out here to spot, basically. The third base is start on both sides. There are those Valkyries you were talking about. Doesn't seem like more wraiths have been made. I think we're getting closer and closer to the point where they're going to have to start accumulating drop ships.
Yeah, that might end up being the case here. The 4 Wraiths cloaking, and looks like they're going to go across the map. He cloaks them super early, just so if they fly over units or mines, you don't actually catch the blip on the mini-map. Checks out, okay, he sees that this third base is being taken. Going to go ahead, fly into the main, and this is where the Valkyries really have to start paying for themselves. They have to come in here and wipe these out.
Yeah. Let's see if he can get a good engage on it. He's going to scan, but the splitting here with the Wraiths is so good. He does transfer damage over to one Wraith a little bit too, or one Valkyrie a little bit too soon. Look at the what is going on? The little Wraiths are rolling around like it's a Elden Ring fight. They just keep rolling and rolling and dodging the shots.
Dude, that was 4 Wraiths beating 3 Valkyries. If this doesn't prove my point about how stupid it is to make Valkyries early on, I don't know what will. Okay,
it's crazy.
It literally doesn't even make sense. Like the Valkyrie is a great unit against Wraiths, but it's like great because it does splash damage, right? Like in these smaller numbers, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like 1 Goliath pushes back 4 Wraiths. Why do we have 3 Valkyries and then lose them? Right? It's silly.
Yeah, no, it feels like it's bad theory. Like, you know, the Valkyrie wasn't that usable until they did a small patch on it around when Remastered came out. But it certainly wasn't patched in a way that it can deal with nimble Wraiths.
Yeah. Well, it's slow. It's got that startup,
that
like
was
you said.
insane.
It is. It's like a chain gun or a minigun or something. It takes a while to shoot. It takes a while to turn. It takes a while to finish its shots. But here are the first dropships of the game. Rush has basically controlled the air, and he is flying into a wonderful position. Mind is grossly out of position right now. Rush is just really outdoing Mind this game.
Yeah, well, I feel like Rush is really seeing the map for, you know, what it is and what you need to do on it. The vulture drop's pretty good. I don't know if Rush, yeah, he knows it's here. He's going to send some vultures down. But this position that Rush has, this is going to be so hard to deal with.
Yeah, look at this. Trying to get out here. There's like a depot in the way that he put there. There's mines in the way. He's trying to bring up tanks. If you target those tanks, he's going to be crying. It's just a fantastic drop here from Rush, and it's being so efficient. Mind is really falling far behind.
It's still doing damage. One more shot.
Man.
Gets that one. Mineral's still not mineable. You ever, like, put tanks back in a position like that and they keep coming at you and attacking you and you're like, is he even still playing the game right now? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
It could be so hard to, like, move stuff through a certain area. I'm like, did you just leave your computer? Or is there, like, actually a human controlling this right now? This looks so bad.
That's funny because I know exactly what you mean.
And then, like, you type something and they're like, and then they like type back, fuck you, and you're like, okay, someone is still there. There's someone actually struggling. There's an ape on the other side of this PC trying to control these units and losing their mind.
Yeah. My God. Okay, another drop coming off. He finally clears that off, and Mind is doing very good small vulture drops for harassment. Those are definitely doing really well. He's killing a lot of SCVs, but the amount of damage he took at his natural is pretty significant, and you can see Rush just has more units on the map. He's starting to really control things. Look at this. His couple remaining Wraiths that took down those Valkyries going to go ahead and take down these drop ships now. So glad we made those Valkyries.
These Wraiths are legendary, man. Remember us flying units?
Yeah. There's like, dude, he lost his Goliaths
They're not
trying
done.
to clear.
They won the last one. Where are they?
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, no one gets out.
This is definitely going to game 3, man. I can't see a way in the universe for Mind to come back from this. He is so far behind. Rush has dominated in every single way. And look, he's like on both sides of the cross.
Yeah, he is.
That's like when you know, you know, those are thinner areas, so when you control both those, your opponent just can't get out.
So, I mean, I think we're about to see the fall of Mind here. I gotta say, Tastosis, I'm kind of stunned by your take on the Wraith Valkyrie thing and how true it became.
Yeah.
In this game, where it's like, what is that not what you want to do? Because I mean, look, Valkyrie Muta, that's a thing 100%.
Yeah.
That's like a core meta thing in TVZ. But I'm looking at it here and I'm like, yeah, why would you even want these slow, stupid Valkyries that can't do anything?
Well, look, if you get
against
up to
anybody who can control wraiths.
If you get up to like 12 wraiths, 100% you want Valkyries, right? You get up to a big group, but
Yeah.
these smaller numbers, when I see them start Valkyries and there's like 2 wraiths on the map, it's like, dude, that's not, you don't need that. You just don't need it. It's a weird thing, and like all the pros do it, and no one that's not a pro does it. And it's like every time I see it, it looks stupid. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm missing something, but it's come true here at least. Yeah, it really feels like Mind has never been in very much control. The supply is actually getting a lot closer, but Rush is closing in on him. You know, there's, oh man. He even moves his
he's hiding behind the rock. Where is he?
And there's a mine
It looks
there.
like the rock is holding the tank.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But yeah, Rush is getting closer and closer. He's pushing down everything. Mind is frantically trying to stop this. Yeah, I mean, this Mind, I think
He's still being held. There it is.
Yeah.
That's Rush's hand coming out of the ground, microing the tank.
Got a stone hand. You thought you could only play Protoss with stone hands. It's not true. You can play Terran too.
He pulled his stone hand back out of the game and had to massage it for a second. Okay, so it's tied up 1-1, guys. That was a great TBT, by the way.
Yeah, that was a wild one. Some very different stuff happening. La Campanella, though, yeah, it's a hard map for TBT, man. It almost just feels like as long as you're really decisive about what you want to do, as long as you have a plan and follow it, you're going to be pretty good.
You know, it makes for interesting matchups in TVZ and PVZ. PvP, it's a headache, and it's definitely restricted, but TBT, man, I am grateful I'm not playing Terran trying to figure out how to navigate that map. I am suddenly drawing a blank. What was the map 3?
Apocalypse, our 3-player desert
Apocalypse,
map.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one, you're going to see...
This should be a good TBT map.
This one's a lot different. Dropship will only be a very late game thing. You won't be seeing like 3 dropships mid-game. The odds of that very, very, very low. This is going to be more about controlling that center area, right? There's 3 high grounds. If you can cut up the map at all, any 3-player map in TBT is high action because you can't split it. There's no way to split a map like this.
Yeah, 3-player maps always cause a fight over the 3rd starting location. If it's ever a 1-versus-1 game. So we're going to settle this, guys. One of these 2 Terrans is going to move on into the round of 16 along with JYJ. All right, let's find out who it is. Mind or Rush on Apocalypse. Okay, we've got Rush in the bottom right, in the blue. Mind first, though, in the bottom left, in the red. And so that spot that is going to be inevitably sought after, that 3rd spawning location on this 3-spawn map, is up at 12 o'clock. It won't play a role right away, but, if it's a long TBT, and sometimes they are, we'll be talking about it.
Yeah. A lot of this should be some jockeying for position. Like, for instance, if you get your opponent's high ground area that's above their like natural and 3rd base location, if you have siege tanks on high ground in TBT, those don't get broken. It's like basically impossible, and that would force like a dropship play or something. So it's one of those positions where I haven't seen TBTs really much on this map yet. But I think it will boil down pretty quickly into just trying to control there. And then if you can't control there, okay, siege line kind of through the middle a little bit. Can you secure the other main base area?
We've got the little depot here for Rush, pushing out the SCV so that it comes out closer to the minerals. Nothing too fancy here with Mind's depot to start this off. I gotta say, by the way, I know that Mind got crushed pretty hard in that last game, but overall, he's come back and looks so strong. It's interesting seeing these really old school legends, like way before StarCraft 2 was even announced. These guys who are on top of the world and were occasionally ASL viable actually come back and be like championship material, basically.
Yeah. It's really impressive for mine that he went from that kind of like weird I'm okay into I can win. But it's great to see. I love it. The form being permanent kind of thing that people say a lot. There really is some truth to that. If you were like a championship level player, I think from 2007 on, then you can still do it. Like you have that base skill set that's so strong that all you have to do is get back in shape.
Yeah, and I think get a modern take on the game and adapt to the maps. But yeah, it's an actual doable thing. I mean, this is one of the great things about StarCraft is you can actually be good at it, stop playing, or get bad, and then come back and be good at it again.
Yeah.
There was this whole thing, and I think it's because Slayer's Boxer said this in an interview, and then everybody just repeated it like a lemming. But he said that he couldn't compete anymore because the younger players, their hands were too fast. And this became a thing that everybody would just repeat over and over and over. And, I mean, we're now 25 years in, 26 years into StarCraft 1, and it doesn't seem to be true. Some of the really old players are actually very good.
Yeah. A lot of people cite studies. I had an argument the other day about this because people just cite studies like reaction time goes down. And it's like, well, no one's at their max reaction time anyways. Okay, that's not what's going on.
Well, that's another thing. People think this whole game is reaction time, and I mean, some of it is. You got to be fast, but it's not. We're not just like clicking on somebody's head around a corner super quickly. With a rifle, there's so much more going on with decision making, with faking things, with studying the meta and trying to see how you can play around that. I mean, I think that honestly, I think APM was so oversold in StarCraft, and I was one of the people guilty of this because when I first started having to like go around and tell people about StarCraft, they didn't seem to care until I said that pros had like 300 to 400 APM.
Yeah.
Then people would actually care because that's like that's a lot of actions per minute. And that became this inflated, overblown thing that is a misleading number because a lot of these clicks are repetitive, and also, it is so much more than that. But people turn it in their minds into a game of speed and pure agility in their head, where it's a lot more than that.
And just one more word on that. What Boxer said. The reality of why Boxer fell off is because he was a micro-based player that utilized creative strategies, and you can't be in the modern day. You have to be able to macro really well, which is what I think he was talking about as far as speed. His macro never was top tier, and so that's like, well,
this was a guy that
can't do it then.
This was a guy who bunker rushed people, and well, hold on a second. We got these two vultures inside the main.
This is pretty huge.
This is wild.
This is pretty huge. The fact that he's in here killing this many SCVs, Rush is getting a pretty big advantage. We were talking about other stuff that was interesting. I didn't think there'd be action this quick, and I could go over the strats, but it's a command center first from mine, so he got a big advantage there. And Rush took a risk by going into speed vultures. To go speed vultures first, if there was a full wall, these would do 0. Right? They would have no real utility, but instead, he has killed like 12 SCVs, which is insanity. So he goes from being certainly behind as far as build orders go to being well ahead. Now, that being said, Mind is going 3 Factory Vulture against a Speed Vulture opening, so there's no option here for Rush. He simply has to go into some Goliaths, get Scanner, and then start like pushing out because Mind is going to take over map control.
Well, this is such a big punish. I think there's ways that Mind can play this out that are going to be okay, but I mean, this is really painful. When the build you did, which was to get ahead in SCVs, was punished, and now you have quite the opposite in that. I'm glad that you pointed out that the map control is going to go out over here to him. He's going to be moving around on the map, but what else can he really do?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He has to consistently make his SCVs again. You can see the supplies are actually somewhat even, but that's because he's producing 3 Factory Vulture right now. You know, if you're like a StarCraft 2 fan, vultures are basically like roaches. It's just they're very supply heavy. So like you'll see in TVT, like, oh yeah, it's even 58 versus 58. No. There's much higher quality from Rush, and in fact, he has more SCVs right now as well. But you know, with Command Center first, it's such a high economy build. He will be able to, you know, remake his economy somewhat. I want to see him out on the map a little bit more with the vultures. I think he's doesn't realize that Rush isn't actually going vultures. Like, Rush made some vultures, but this is not a vulture build. So he might be afraid that there's like a similar amount of vultures across the map. If he knew that this was just 2 factory only, no more factories added on, he went into siege. See, now he knows. Now his vultures can go anywhere he wants because he knows his opponent doesn't have more.
Yeah, the fear is that you're going to get stuck in a fight. And, you know, this isn't the best comparison, but it is a little bit like Muta versus Muta, where, like, if the Mutas both engage each other, it's hard to ever get out if you're losing the fight. Like, you could just basically be moving shot to death. And so that's why he wants to be cautious there. Now he can set up for a drop. We've got Rush combing through the middle here. The mines aren't stacked heavily enough where I think any of these can actually pose a real threat. Although every once in a while you will get unlucky. You know, I think a vulture drop over here when Terran's pushing out is so devastating. These 4 vultures are going to get so much done. I don't know how much is actually in the main, but this is going to really hurt. 4 vultures of Rush do come down.
Yeah, kind of lucky that he had those freshly made. You know, a lot of times you just kind of rally them out. And then Mind runs in with a second small group of 3 to try to one-shot as many SCVs as possible. So, you know, he's doing a reasonable job, but you can see that right now, Rush is kind of controlling that high ground, and this is going to be a very important thing to battle over.
The tank siege up. Oh, and the last shot there from the vulture picks it off.
That's huge.
You really can't lose the tanks there. That's the backbone of your army. We've got an armory coming down here now as well. Mind wanting more out of his own position on sieges. I'm not sure where exactly he wants to go. There's not an easy spot for Mind to expand to. Rush also can't expand because there's spider mines planted up in the spots where he could expand. So this is going to get pretty dirty. Nobody can really do what they want to do until a pretty substantial fight is won over here.
Yeah, you know, Rush has had certainly a cleaner game, and you can see he's kind of like getting rid of the odds and ends that Mind has left on the map. You know, clearing some of these mines, killing off some of these vultures, you know, bringing forward his army. He still has a pretty darn strong standing army. And now he's going to start to siege across the mid, right? Like, we had the battle for map control on the high ground of Mind's area. He held it, he sieged. So he's fine over there. You're not going to break that. So now it's, from Rush's point of view, it's more like, okay, let's make sure that he can't go elsewhere on the map.
The vultures are going to gather up over here on the side. Not much can be done over there. He's going to have to try to chase that back. Mind is going to get this base up and running. Is it just spider mines? That's the little blue upside down T there near the 3rd base for Mind on the mini map?
Yes.
There's nothing there,
yeah,
right?
That's just mines. It's most of what you see on the map is just mines. You really just kind of lay them everywhere.
I thought for a second I thought there was maybe another tank down there and like something else, and that was going to be an issue. But no, never mind.
You know, I don't know if Terran would really be a playable race without the mines. It's just they're so incredibly important to you know, give you vision, to zone stuff out, to get your scouting done. Very, very important stuff. Now, this is really interesting to see the way that this is going. Now, he saw with the mines that there's drop ships. So Mind is going dropships. That's not a big surprise because Rush is kind of turtling the map up, right? Like, he's got mines everywhere. He's got a little bit of a siege in the middle. And Rush actually is adding 2 starports. So he actually wants to go into raid here knowing that it's dropship play from Mind. That's like that can be a really good way to counter. If you snipe all the dropships one time, you basically win.
When you tech this, it's almost like you're teching quietly to carriers against Terran, right? Like, you don't want them to know that you're doing this. You want to blindside them with this, right?
Yes, oh, 100%. Like, if they know that it's Wraith, that you're spending a lot of money on Wraith, you can do things like drop Goliath tank at other bases, and they can't really break you. The Wraiths are really trying to hard counter these couple of dropships and any more dropships that come out. So, like, if he kills off, you know, if you're sitting there contained, you make dropships to get out, and your opponent just wrecks them with Wraiths, it's like you're behind in every single way. The dropships really are how you must come back.
Yeah, the dropships are going to have to get back out now. They see, funnily enough, they actually scouted the Wraiths that we're making here. It looks like they're going to come up. You know, one thing with Wraiths is that they're so fast airwise that nothing really gets to get away from them.
Yeah.
Oh, unless you don't aim it.
Yeah, you gotta do the moving shot, like move, click, move, click. They can do moving attacks, so a great way to chase these down. There are a couple Wraiths coming out from Mind, but there are 2 starports for Rush, so this is not going to be the biggest.
And Goliath's here too.
Well, actually, he beats both of them. Okay.
Yeah, no range on the Gulls right now.
Now, I wonder, because we're kind of getting siege lines from both sides in the mid, and you can see now Rush is taking this high ground a little bit. That can be a great way to do it, right? Like, your opponent starts pushing in the middle. If you take that high ground, how is he supposed to get up there? How is he supposed to take that over?
Question. The mains are so droppable on this map. Obviously, Rush is super droppable from Mind position. But, you know, if Mind is going to have to rely on this base down here in the bottom right, it is very expensive here for Rush to take. By just dropping right in there. Look at this. Mind's going to squeeze right in the blind spot up here. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, just want to let you know, Tastosis, I think your mic changed. It's like you're down a tunnel now. But yeah, right now, this is...
Is it better now?
There
Sorry,
you go.
I think I fixed it. You there now? I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It's like, damn, man, you went really far away. Where are you right now?
I'm like, now I'm inside of a Dixie cup, Artosis. Sorry about that.
But yeah, Rush there does clear up that little, like, attempted counterattack from Mind. Mind's factory placement is hilarious. Both sides going double add-on on their starport. So this might turn into a mass dropship game at this point, where they're dropping and counter-dropping to block that. Some cloaked Wraiths coming over from Mind. He's trying to make sure that he can clear this area and get into it himself. But look at this, the Wraith versus Wraith occurs again.
Yeah, and once, you know, the Wraiths engage each other, if you're good at this moving shot, if you're able to just keep up, it's very hard to ever get away, and then very, very difficult to ever catch back up. I think that this is still doable for Mind.
Yeah.
We're still waiting basically to see who's going to be able to stretch up into the top left and fill in the areas over there. An immediate shutdown on the command center down here as Rush takes this one out. But the top left main and its natural, those are the treasures that you need if this game continues onwards, because that's where you're going to get the resources to finally close it out and win.
Yeah, the way this is going, oh god, Rush getting in on top of this, but Mind has so many siege tanks right there. It looks like he will blow up a lot of vultures. And yeah, just Rush with not as many tanks moving into this position. This is most certainly a problem for him. Kind of surprisingly, we're at 15 minutes and they're both still on +1 attack only. Like, normally you get +2 pretty darn quickly in TVT, but definitely not occurring this time. Looks like we have Rush pushing into the highest ground of Mind now. This is like getting very aggressive. I don't know if this is going to work out.
It's definitely ambitious. If you could take this high ground area, you're not going to be able to get out of your base as Mind. But the thing is, that's so hard to actually pull off.
Yeah, and
now these are the Valkyries from the previous game that have their Wraith friends here to help beat up the other Wraiths.
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, just to be really clear about my negative views about Valkyries, at this stage of the game, this is very good. Like, if you see 4 Valkyries, you're like, I'm not making any more Wraiths. Unless you go yourself Valkyries, and then it gets really stupid because it's like Valkyrie versus Valkyrie. Which is doesn't
in which case Artosis goes right back to his original position on Valkyries.
Exactly. So at this point in the game, I think that's a great anti-air force right there that Mind has. Now there are some missile turrets here to kind of push him back. There's a lot of dropships being made. Rush has snuck one of the 4 bases from that top left area. Or Mind has, rather, sorry. And Rush needs to do something. He decides to push once again towards this high ground.
Yeah, he's coming in here right now. And he's going to try to go for it. I mean, the Valkyries could take out the Wraiths, but they're not going to be able to help defend on the ground.
No.
Just a few tanks remaining up there. Is this the wrong play, though, from Rush? Is this going to end up as an overextension? Because if you don't get up there, you don't get up there, and it's always going to be a point that can be reinforced. We've got a lot of dropships out. It's actually 6 in total. And that's going to pick up all these tanks and probably most of the Vultures. And then he has a lot of different spots he can try to hit.
Yeah, when you start getting 5, 6, 7 dropships, like both sides are working towards here, like that could be death. If you get that set up just right, it's like very, very hard to break. But look at that, the Valkyries and Wraiths find the dropships. You know, they will push them back. Valkyries don't deal, you know, they deal a lot of damage to these clump units, but it's not like your dropships are just going to explode immediately. So he does pull them back. He's looking for another angle, but great unit movement here from Mind. Look at that.
Dude, Mind with the zoning here. In a huge game-changing moment, we've got what could be actually all the dropships about to die here. A quick attack down towards the bottom here. The only real fresh base that Mind has, besides the one that was about to be dropped there in the center left. All of the tanks are going to be killed off. Oh, except for this one survivor, but that is a big amount of kills there in that location. And now it's going to be Mind's turn to try to pick up his units, gather up what he has, and then go right into the main, I assume, or maybe even go up to the very top.
Yeah, I think clearing anything could be okay. Like even going over here and clearing that and regaining your base is okay. You know, Rush has gathered a lot of units together. By the way, the last time we clicked on his unit just like 10 seconds ago, he didn't have +2 yet, which is insane to not have +2 here at 18 minutes. But it looks like,
yeah,
I think you're right, he might be going for the main base.
Well, there are a lot of spider mines down here. The tanks and the turrets are laid out in a way they could just catch this. And I think Mind's instinct kicks in nicely, and he says, no, it's probably better to just try to win a fight over here in a place that's, you know, doable versus blindly going into the main and just hoping that there aren't mines where there in fact are, and there aren't tanks and turrets where there clearly we saw were.
This is a big attack, a very nice spread here from Rush. He's going to clear a lot of these siege tanks. He's got, it looks like a defense matrix, absolutely beautiful. Just a few tanks remain defensively here for Mind, and they are down 2 of them on the low ground there. So it looks like Rush should be able to push in and kill that base off, which will bring parity once again, like 4 base versus 4 base.
Okay, there are spider mines out. There are a lot of tanks. The spider mines don't run that deep into the main. At the same time, it doesn't really matter. He spawns basically in the location where the spawn point, or where the drop has actually been put. I think that Mind is almost dead, Artosis. I think his supply is still okay, but he's running out of bases. He's lost a lot of SCVs. I think the SCV count is probably a lot better right now for Rush. And another big drop comes in. I mean, well, hold on, maybe I'm wrong. Can Rush actually deal with this? He's gonna have to send units all the way around. He doesn't have drop ships of his own in mass, right?
He had a few. I don't know if maybe he lost them when we weren't looking, but I haven't seen them in a while now. Like he had them over kind of towards that top left. Okay, he does have a few there. Yeah, oh, that's actually quite a few. It's like 6 drop ships. Now he's going for a drop in the main. Yeah, that's gonna be a very hard one to clear. 0 defense for Mind compared to Rush, who had like so much in there.
There's a little spinning armory in there he could take out as well with that drop. Rush is still getting a couple tanks out here. Even these 3 tanks can sandbag progress there in the main. You can see the tank that spawns here is instantly shot down as the rest of the tanks from Mind have to come up, trickling in to try to do any more damage, but a drop into that position. This is really starting to feel like a position you can't recover from. Don't forget, everybody, there's really nowhere else for these factories of Mind to be landed.
No, he's not going to be able to clear that. It looks like his supply has dwindled down to almost nothing at this point. I tell you, that was a really close one, kind of back and forth. The real difference at the end of the day between these two is that Rush had a very heavily defended main, and Mind literally didn't have 1 unit, 1 turret, 1 mine in there. So he just dies to the counter draw.
What a game, man. Rush really played a pretty brilliant TVT. I got to say, a lot of patience showed there. Really loved what I saw with the Wraiths as well versus the Valkyries earlier on. Mind already up and out of his seat, by the way.
He's got to get out of there, man. The TVT is long. He might have to pee. We don't know. He doesn't seem like an emotional player to me, so I don't know if he's got up out of being upset or not. But very well won there by Rush. Definitely back and forth. You know, his +2 was really late, which I was finding a little bit weird. That felt a little off. Like maybe he was nervous or something. Like that's not something you'll normally see.
Yeah, that was a bit odd. Well, you know, Rush has done it. I think this guy has shown so much promise, so much tenacity, so much insight into the race. Terran, I gotta say, I was pretty confident he'd move on here today, but here we can see it now. So this is the closer here of Game 3. It looked like Mind was onto something, but you have to have enough tanks in here to sustain this. So really, the reason why this was thinned out was actually the turrets and the mines that were already planted to preempt this.
Yeah, if he hadn't had as much, you know, defense there as he did, then Mind might have actually just killed him before Rush could do the counter drop. But like even here, this drop was pretty good. It was really hard for him to clear all of this, and he just kept dropping units in there. But as soon as there was the counter drop, I mean, when you have nothing in your main base and those drop ships come in, that's almost always a game loss.
Yeah, this was a fun TVT series. I can't stop thinking about the Valkyries and the fact that we're seeing them made a lot of times early on versus Wraiths, only at the pro level, but I mean, so far, not in a way that, you know, I think convinces people that this is the right play or not, but I think Mind still has a real shot at advancing here, but it's a tough group from here on out.
It really is. You know, he's going to have to play. I would imagine Mini should take down Killer, right? It's a best of 3, even if he's doing like Nexus first without scouting. Like I feel like he'll still grind the best of 3 off of Killer, but that's going to be a tough one regardless, right? Like no matter how good your decision making is.
In the end, nowhere to put those factories, so that's going to be the end there for Mind. But we're far from done, everybody. We're deep into this group, but there's so much more to go. First, we're going to have an interview with Rush and see how he's feeling. He's moving on to the round of 8.
Hello everyone, we have the first winner of Group B that is moving on to round of 8 this season. It is going to be Rush. Congratulations. Thank you.
지난 시즌의 아쉬움을 뒤로하고 다시 한번 8강 대열에 합류하고
Rush, you're finally able to wash off last season's disappointment and make it to round of 8. A sincere congratulations to you. In the winners, you did lose the first game, and you probably felt a lot of pressure. But despite that, you still lock in your round of 8 spot. How do you feel right now? Well, last season when I lost the TVT, it was the same pattern. I was defeated by a siege tank, the one siege tank, twice actually. So I'm really happy that I won today. Yes, that one siege tank, he really gave you hell of a time. You know, he really destroyed you. But despite that, you performed really well today. You initially went for the 1-star port strategy and then transitioned to a 2-star port. And then you used the dropships when your army was centered in the middle of the map. So what was that about? I mean, if I do want to avoid the vulture fights, I have to go for the aerial fights with the race. But luckily for me, it felt like the opponent was not spawning the race, which actually made me easier. And you know, that's when I saw this game was winnable. I mean, your race micro was really good today. You cut off the enemy's Valkyries really well, and it was almost like an air show. I mean, I practiced so much, I grinded so many games. My win rate hasn't been so good. It was like 20%, 30%. I lost everything else. But, you know, I'm really happy to have won today. In the third game, you know, mine went for the natural right away.
마음이 초조해졌을 것 같은데 속옷벌처로 뭔가
And you were slightly on the back foot.
네, 상대가
And it felt like you found the answer with the vultures.
막아주길 바라면서 했는데 그 맵이 완전하게 막히진 않아서.
I mean, I was hoping the opponent wouldn't fend off the vultures.
근데 그 이후에도 생더블이가
And I feel like that worked well.
네.
좀 많이 위험했다고 생각합니다.
I mean, despite the opponent going for natural first, and I was still able to catch up to him. So I feel really happy about that.
마인을 비롯해서 수비 라인을 정말 탄탄하게 잡아놨던 게
But Rush, you did show solid defense today with the mines as well.
사실
And you also fended off the dropships too.
새벽 5시에 연습을 하는데 몽군이랑
I mean, practice yesterday, 5 a.m. I was practicing with Mong.
5시에서.
And I lost to the exact same strategy, same location. So I learned a lot from that game. And I feel like that's helped me prepare for today's match.
8강에 진출한 것도 진출하신 거지만 사실 변현재 선수와의 경기에서도
So you now advance to round of 8.
그래도 마음속에 있었던 약간의 아쉬움을 조금은 해소하셨을
And
것
you have some
같습니다.
clean victories today. And I feel like this victory means a lot to you.
크게 그 의의를 두지 않고 오늘의 경기만 집중을 했는데.
I mean, I wasn't too broken after losing in the finals last season. And I feel like everything else is working out well for me. And today I was able to have a relatively easy game. I mean, we got to see some meticulous plays from you today. And if you can keep up this performance, I feel like you can actually go to the finals again. And I think that's what all the other people agree on. I mean, I check my form every day, and even if my form isn't that good in practice, I feel like in tournament my form is actually back to a better state. So now I'm gonna have to prepare harder for the round of 8. I mean, Rush, even in the face of defeat, you never back down. And do you have anything else you want to take to the fans and your colleagues? Well, first of all, I gotta mention all my practice partners. For Protoss, Snow, Best, YSC, Karen, Light, Sharp, Mong, Sack, and for Zerg, Sexry. Thank you to all the 8 players who helped me with practice. I mean, I can already like sense how much practice you've done with those names. And also, I want to thank all the fans who are here at the venue for cheering for me. And also, I want to thank the YB clan members. And also, a special shout out to C. He's been taking care of us really well. Yes, and to all the other people who's helping us with our clan stuff. And last but not least, I want to thank my wife and my daughter for their support. But we look forward to your next performance, Rush. Thank you. And that's it for the interview with Rush, the first player to qualify for a round of 8 in Group B.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 토킹.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 우리 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 칠성사이다 제로.
청량한 이 순간 칠성사이다로부터. 칠성사이다.
우승과 가장 가까우면서도 가장 먼 존재.
e스포츠에 대한 불만과 바라는 점은
안 좋아. 웬만하면 돌려 얘기하거든요.
이렇게 다이렉트라고. 신경 좀 넘어갔으면 좋겠다.
그러니까.
What's up, everybody? We're back. We're ready to go into this elimination match. This should be a straightforward one, but maybe it won't be. Mini is not always, I think, as consistent as he should be. This is a great moment for him to kind of push through that. Killer is a smart player. He's a great player. It's definitely a mismatch no matter how you try to cut it, but let's see what Killer can do, man. This is his shot.
Yeah. I mean, it's CVP, so you know you always have the fear of like Lings getting in or a Hydra bus coming. So I think there definitely is. It's a non-zero chance that Killer takes down Mini here. You know, I can see that occurring. Like we've seen Mini lose in silly situations where he's like, well, I want a Nexus first against this guy that's way worse than me. You know, Killer is not a guy that would ever like make an ASL finals most likely, whereas Mini's been there multiple times. So I do wonder which risks Mini is going to elect to take here.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you don't take any, but that wouldn't be the Mini way.
The greatest, actually, Tastosis is something I tell myself a lot. The greatest risk you can take is taking no risks at all. You have to cut something somewhere.
That's true. Well, we're just going to be going right into this match, guys. Mini vs. Killer starts now. Let's do this. The loser, they're out. They're the third player out of the ASL round of 16, season 16. Okay, bottom left is Mini, bottom right is Killer, and let's get into this game. You know, Mini has been, I think, for a lot of Protoss players in the last couple years, truly an inspiration. This is a guy who's, you know, has a lot of really tricky, aggressive styles. He doesn't seem to play by any of the kind of traditional rules of Protoss. He's not your Stork that kind of figured out how to safely get ahead and tech into a later part of the game. He's not a Bisu that showed people you can get right in the Zerg's face and take them head on and not have to try to play a passive game. You know, Mini's very tricky. When he's had the best success in ASL, he has these hyper-tailored builds. He seems to be better at the odds games than most players, particularly when it comes to choosing cheeses. He knows how to set up a cheese where he can come out and really do a lot of damage. And so, you know, that's great and all, especially when you're against the very best of the best in the whole world. But you got to be careful against a player who just considers themselves to be much worse than you. That can be an issue.
Yeah, it's a good point. And, you know, I'll never forget some of these builds that Mini has done. You remember that game on Eclipse where he had, like, the Zealots walking by, right by Overlords and stuff. It was one of the craziest, best planned games I've ever seen. But, yeah, at the same time, he'll go Nexus first against someone much worse than him and, you know, take that risk of there'd be a quick pull or something. But this particular game looks like it is going to be a hatchery first coming out of Killer. Mini is going for gateway expansion, so we should see a bit of pressure coming out of him. But yeah, I'm hoping that we see like a full Mini, right? Like someone who really has everything planned out meticulously. He is known for practicing in single player more than any other pro currently, which is, it kind of shows you the way he thinks about the game.
Yeah, and there's something to that. I remember always being weirded out and kind of mystified by these people that spent a lot of time against a computer. And, you know, maybe they're not like actually, okay, hold on a second. This is a fake. You can cannon rush in this spot, just to be clear.
Dude, look at this. He's selling it so hard. Look at the amount of drones coming out right now. Now, you'll jump these over. This is funny. Look at this, Tastosis. He cancels both, gets out with the probe, and his Zealot's almost there.
That's right. And obviously, Lings are going to have been started here. But, you know, how much more can he take advantage of this? I guess you'd lose 25 minerals for each cancel. So, I mean, 50 minerals is lost pretty quickly when you pull that many workers. Another drone has just now popped out. So Mini's going to come in here and try to come and kill a worker right out of the bat.
Oh, he will go ahead and kill that that Zergling very quickly. He's dealt a lot of damage to a couple of the drones, but hasn't gotten those kills as of yet. Another Zealot comes in to the natural, and it looks like that one will get at least one kill. He's doing a great job so far.
I mean, this is already, you know, what I think most Zerg players would say is too much. This could actually force an all-in right now, just because the Nexus is going to be fine back here. The Forge can get up just in time. The Zealot can still trade out behind minerals pretty well. And, you know, you lose, a lot of times you lose 2 drones and the Zerg basically just abandons the game and goes for an all-in. This one, he's only just now going to kill that Zealot. But there is so much back at home. And, I mean, how many drones are here? I think maybe like 10 or something like that. I mean, just not a lot.
This looks really bad. He's already got Zealots in every hole in the wall. He's getting a cannon right now. This feels absolutely fantastic for Mini. Killer was definitely caught off guard, right? The fake cannon rush, I feel like really sold it. You know, he's bringing up 5-6 drones trying to jump him over. He's losing his own minerals. Mini just cancels, and the drones are all out of whack, in the wrong spots. The Zealots are flowing in. Really well done from Mini here at the beginning of game 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is already just such a great start. And look, Killer's not going to pull the trigger, which I think would probably have ended the game anyways, even though that might be the best of all possible options. But it's going to be a game where he's playing from behind. Already the 4 Zealot push is coming out across the map.
And he actually slips the probe in as well. That was kind of surprising. There were 4 lings that could have been blocked, but he did not see it in time. And now Mini gets a scout on the Hydralisk den. So it looks like Killer did want to go into 3-hatch Hydra. Does he continue down that path?
Yeah, I mean, and this is what this attack is designed to do, is to come in here like this and, you know, basically force the hand of the Zerg. More lings are going to come out. He hasn't seen just yet if it's going to be Hydralisks, but, I mean, this is already looking pretty dire right now. 4 Zealots can be microed so well, by the way, where this is going to be such an efficient trade. You know, the Hydras, though, not being seen is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, still don't see any Hydras coming out. The amount of lings he's just had to make to hold off these Zealots is pretty absurd. Mini right now kind of running circles around Killer. And the first Hydra does pop out, starting to get some of those, but the Zealots are everywhere dealing damage.
Seeing the Hydras is huge. He might even try to go for more drones. Oh, Artosis. This is so bad right now. The Zealots are trying. I mean, this is so out of hand for what you normally get with Zealots early on. It's unreal.
Do your PVCs not look like this?
Unfortunately not, Artosis.
Because my ZVPs look like this, but okay.
This is normally Artosis. I just see the Hydras make the cannons and still lose the game.
Well, right here, it's hard to imagine anything going wrong for Mini at this point. Hydralisk speed is done. Killer is sending them across the map. We do have a Corsair here that's pushing back the Overlords, and of course he's got to buy a little bit of time to get those cannons up, but already has additional gates added as well. Like, he's going to come out with speed lots pretty quickly after holding this. This is just a recipe for disaster for our Zerg player.
It's hard to imagine a game where you recover from this. It really is. And so, I mean, at this point in time, it's like, where does Zerg go from here? There's the drones. I actually lost count on how many were killed in total, but losing the gateway is totally fine for the Protoss. The Protoss already has a big engine behind this. It's completely likely that you just get toppled by seeing the charge lots come out. The Hydras might just literally not be high enough in number to actually do anything here.
Yeah, it's a very small amount. 4 more come down, and again, the Citadel was made a little bit ago, so he's going to have legs relatively soon, and that's where these smaller groups of Hydras just stand no chance against the Zealots. Right now, he's trying to kite back, but even that not working well.
So here we get to the point where the Zealots have the charge, and this is where you get to cross a Zerg up in 2 ways. You can kill the Hydras on the ground and combo that in with the Corsair. I think it's just one, right? I think it's actually just cleaning up Overlords in the south, but you could send that up here into the natural and just start to kill Hydralisks over here. I mean, I'm seeing more more Zealots than there are Hydras. The Sim City's not ideal. I mean, dude, he might just tap out.
There's really nothing left for him here. He's trying to drill his drones down to block this, but he was out-mind-gamed, out-microed, out-macroed. Every single thing went wrong here for Killer this game, unfortunately. Mini having a great game number 1, really looking on point. You know, he had a tough best of 1 against Rush, but stuff like that can happen at best of 1 against one of the world's best players. Here against Killer, he shows that he's got that form we're looking for.
Exactly. Well, this is, you know, the kind of solid play where, you know, as good as Killer is, and the fact that he's even been in an ASL or more than one is wild, but you can see just a standard PVZ opener with a little bit of trickery, a little bit of a magic trick in there by faking out the cannon rush is enough to snowball it into a position like this.
Killer still trying to defend. You know, he's got like 51 supply against 61, but the thing is, Mini is like scaling so much better at home, right? He's got an insane probe count right now. He can add more gateways. Look at that. He's going to do a DT drop, it looks like. A 3 DT drop. Hey, why not?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, a great idea to try to move in. The shuttle is heading out, and it looks like it's going to be just not spotted. Look at that, right through the blind spot. Wow.
Well, that drop, I think, is going to be what causes Killer to give up on this game. Notice he's moving some Zealots forward at the same time. He's trying to take some of the attention away. And as these 3 DTs walk in, honestly, I think he could kill the Lair, the Hydra Den, the drones, whatever he wants, really.
Yeah, you know, 3 DTs is a lot. Sometimes you'll see one, but I kind of like it. I think it's a great way to just sort of close the game out. And I don't think Killer's even noticed yet. He's not going to notice until the last drone dies, and then his Hydralisk Den is going to die.
Man. Well, don't worry, you can make Zerglings now. Yeah, this is bad. Mini,
yeah, no problem.
Mini crushes game 1.
Well, there you have it, man. Game 1, just a dominant performance. I feel like Mini's probably already thinking about the PVTs in the future, but he's got to win at least one more. It really all goes back to the fake out with the cannon rush. You know, it's funny, like when I was learning this map, I thought, well, I should probably mess around with Forge Expand because you can cannon rush on this. And I guess a lot of Protosses will choose to do that just so that if someone goes hatch first, you win the game. But then you get Mini who goes for gate opening just so he can fake out a cannon rush.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny way to do it. And I guess actually the way the minerals are placed there, it's pretty easy to sell, right? Like that's actually a quality map for cannon rush, especially that position at least.
Yeah, it really is. Well, and you can see, you know, Zerg's alarm like, oh God, okay, I can win this. I got to get a drone behind here. Then it doesn't happen. Okay. Polypoid, map 2, let's do this. We've got Mini here in the bottom right. And in the top right, we've got Killer. I do hope for Killer's sake we get a better game. I'd love to have a game 3. But right now, Mini is kind of reminding everybody of what he's able to do. You know, solid play, but backed with a little sleight of hand.
Yeah, the little bit of a mind game there, the plan. It was a heavy commitment to tricking him. You know, the second pylon going down. Not everyone will do that. Sometimes you're like, oh, maybe he'll pull 3 drones right now. But he throws on the second one, 5 drones get pulled, and it's starts to get out of hand pretty quickly. You know, I don't know if he can do that again. You know, I see a pylon like that, and I'm reminded of like, oh, does that block the Nexus, Tastosis?
So funny. That was what was that? The StarCraft Holiday
It's
Bash
like when
or the
Remastered first came out
party?
again. My eyes weren't used to where things went because we had been in StarCraft 2 for so long. So like every time I commentated like a Protoss game, I'm like, I don't know. I think that blocks the Nexus.
Oh, by the way, it's Forge opening.
Ooh, he might actually...
A bit of build order
yeah,
layering.
he might actually cannon rush here, right?
Yeah. Well, he can. If you go Forge first and double scout with probes, you can do it. Now, is he going to try to make it look like, oops, I missed out? I guess you can cannon rush back here, yeah.
You know, you can pop a drone back there relatively easily. I think if you use the geyser, you can just do it with one. Fairly certain. It comes in.
I believe so. There's one more probe, and then you have a perfect box. And you can actually take the assimilator, so they just don't do that, and you're set.
Oh.
Oh no.
His drones actually got stuck and spun on each other.
Drones.
Craziness. Now, he does have that one cannon that's warping in right now. The probe taking a bit of damage. Oh my god, he just glitched that over. I actually was looking at the other probe. How did he even do that?
How did he do that?
I honestly don't know.
I don't know. Well, I guess he probably... Yeah, that was wild. Maybe he already had it glitched at the top?
No, it was just walking around normally inside of there, but he did some sort of trick there to pop it over the mineral patch. That's kind of insane. Okay.
I hope we get a highlight of that so I can learn something. And I guess the question now is, I guess you make more cannons if the hatchery finishes. You know, Zerg still has the option to cancel, even though it's probably also a form of a losing move.
Well, everything here feels losing for Killer. Look at this, two probes coming in and bullying the drones. Okay, perfect placement there, right? Oh, okay, no, the cannon's actually hitting it.
No. That's another one of the harder placements to read.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get rid of this one. This one's way too low. There is that second one coming in that will be able to range into the pylon, and if you can range into anything, there's actually like a little bug where you can make the spine shoot like a lot further. So he should be able to like clear some of this, but he is going to lose that hatchery now. And with two cannons going up at Mini's home base, I don't think that this link counterattack has too much potential.
Yeah, all you got to do is send your probes down here and buy time. And you can always buy time in a moment like this. There's just... He does get a couple workers. Not bad. That's it. GG. Okay. I actually thought it was Mini fist bumping for a second. It was actually just Killer taking his headphones off so fast after that loss.
Definitely not a happy one there for him. Mini going to go ahead and easy his way through that loser's match to go up and fight Mine. That should be a pretty good match. It's like a kind of a clash of styles. A couple of brainy players, but in completely different ways going at it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Mini, you know, reminding everybody, you know, what a scary player he is. Just two tricky openings, completely crushing. One of the best Zergers in the entire country. I do feel bad for Killer. It hurts to lose like that, right? But, you know, you're playing against the very best of the best. This is a former ASL champ, right?
And, you know, build one built into build two. So he, you know, you look at that and it's like, okay, is this a fake again? And I think he did think it was a fake. You know, he saw that and he's like, oh, shit. And look, the drones actually stack on each other. Dude, I know that feeling 100%. You're trying to pull things to defend and they get on top of each other. I want to see this probe, though. How did this probe get out, man? Oh, you know what? I bet you he builds an assimilator. That's what it was.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yep, that's brilliant. I actually did not even think of that. But yeah, assimilators change the size of the geyser. It actually makes the geyser smaller, so he was able to just walk out from there.
Well, I mean, I'm just ready to go into this next match. There's not much else to break down there for, you know, how exactly Killer could have played that better. It's a tricky early game. Mini's a tricky player. We're going to take a break, guys. Coming up next, a very exciting match, Mini versus Mine. Don't go away.
우주급 텐션, 최고의 토킹, 핫식스 터킨.
똑같은 하루에서 답답함을 빼면 더 청량해질 거야. 제로처럼. 없어도 되는 건 빼고 살자. 실성 사이다 제로.
청명한 이 순간 실성 사이다로부터 실성 사이다.
우승과 가장 가까우면서도 가장 먼 존재.
e스포츠에 대한 불만과 바라는 점은
저안 좋아. 웬만하면 돌려 얘기하거든요.
이렇게 다이렉트라고. 시즌 2 넘어갔으면 좋겠다.
그러니까.
What's up, everybody? We're back. We're ready. It's time to close out the round of 16 Group B and figure out which of these two legends is going to survive, which one is going to be eliminated. Mini making PVZ look easy. He's made PVT look broken. How's he going to do it against Mind? Mind has come back in such good shape with such novel and modern ideas. He doesn't seem to be as heavily influenced as a Terran from any one other Terran. I think this is going to be a really fun match to cast.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. I actually am going to throw this out there. Like, I think Mini is probably a slightly stronger overall player than Mind, but I think stylistically, Mind matches up really well against Mini. Like, Mini plays like kind of a hard-hitting style where you might take a risk, like, you know, Nexus first, or you might offensive gas you and get into heavy speed shuttle play, something like that. But Mind is very good at making like really strong decisions in TVP, and that's most of this matchup is just making sure you don't screw up in the beginning and you don't throw your army away. If you can do those two things, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird matchup where both races, they have really powerful units at the start, but a couple slip-ups and everything dies. And we're going to be going into Polypoid, a map very tried and tested, to see who's going to at least take the lead. And I hope we get to Invader Man, map 3. That would be really fun with these two to see how it pans out. We're going to start this one now, everybody. Mini versus Mind. Let's see who survives. All right, guys, as we go into this final match, we just want to say thank you so much for the support on Patreon. It's patreon.com/ASL English. People like you make stuff like this possible, so if you haven't signed up already, we really hope we earn your support. We want to be doing this forever.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. And, you know, it's been a blast to just be able to continue casting ASL no matter what. Like, right, they cancel the English broadcast, still doing it. I move across the world, still doing it. You know, and hopefully forever. Hopefully even when Tasteless dies years before me, I'll still be casting this.
And they'll have the AI version
Yes.
of me that I sold my licensing to for like $100, and it'll just be casting that for eternity.
That would be amazing.
I will have sold that for an early beta of StarCraft 3 that was never as good as StarCraft 2 and 1. But AI Tastosis will be there forever, and Tastosis will be a brain floating in a jar somewhere talking about how Protoss is OP. Long after he's gone, we'll be doing this as well.
Oh, my. Well, looking forward to this match, truly. This is like the type of match I want to watch. I feel like I can learn a lot watching it as well. Polypoid's such a standard map. You know, it's had a few updates recently, which is really nice. They kind of fixed a lot of the mineral patches and some of the turret locations, which is important. So nice to see a little bit more balanced when, you know, for instance, the right-hand minerals always mine quicker than left, but like, for instance, those minerals you see right there on mine side, that's the updated minerals for left side patches, similar to how Vermeer has them. So it gets it basically as close as you can get mine-wise.
Now, the old Nexus First Mini, I think, really is one of the very, very best in this build. Nexus First cross spawns when you open up in kind of a middle-of-the-road build here for mine, like we're seeing now. I mean, this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable for mine. I don't know what the current Terran response is to Nexus First. Nexus First isn't a build I use really right now. But looking at this, it looks like it could be even a Forge expand Nexus First.
Could be, yeah.
How does Terran want to try to play this now? I know we talk about this every season, but it does seem like new ideas come up every season.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it looks like he's doing an N Scout. So with N Scout, when you go factory expansion, there's no real counterplay. The best counterplay that Terrans have come up with is to make their command center, get mines, and go for a starport. There's also like a newer build that is kind of interesting. I've played around with it a little bit, but I haven't seen it at the pro level a ton yet, which is a 2-factory Vulture after your expansion, and you take a quicker third. And Polypoid is one of the better maps for that since you have the high ground third base. I don't know what Mind will do, but he will certainly have a plan for what should be done.
This is one of the fun moments where you get to basically get to the bottom of a part of the game that you might not know about, where it's like, okay, well, these guys are way better. How do they handle it exactly? The greediest of the greed builds, I thought this might be a Forge expand. It's going to be right into Cybernetics Core. No real threats have been created here from the Terran. And so this is going to be a free new base, a second Zealot, by the way, coming out just in time to block the ramp. That's huge.
Oh, he's going. He's going. Oh, my God.
Yeah, he's going.
Yeah, and he actually did start his third depot. This is kind of crazy. You don't see this as often, especially with an N Scout. It almost never occurs, but he's decided to go. And like you said, this is the greediest Nexus First you can do, where you get the gas really quickly, you get one gate only, and he's even sent a Zealot on a counterattack.
Oh, this is wild. It really makes sense, though. One Zealot against, just a Marine and SCVs. This is going to be hard to deal with. Sometimes with Nexus First, it's better to just ditch the build itself, or the Nexus itself, and just do whatever you can to try to save your probes and fight another day. And it looks like this could be one of those games, but already Mini's killing so many SCVs back here.
Yeah, he's already killed at least 2 there, maybe 3, and maybe some more on the way. But this bunker is going to get up, so the Nexus is going to fall. Like, the odds of that Nexus dying are like a 100% right now. He actually sends almost every SCV back and makes a command center. That's kind of interesting, because normally you end up keeping 4 SCVs across the map, because that will guarantee the kill. Like, Protoss just basically can't break the bunker in time if you leave 4. But he lays some mines down. He has 1 SCV here, and honestly, the amount of damage on that Nexus, he is going to get it regardless of sending those SCVs home so early.
Yeah, there's no way to save this. This is actually one of the reasons why I don't do this as much, as I find playing from this position as Protoss after the Nexus is gone is so hard, and Terrans are so good at it. So this is going to be a moment where we can really see what exactly Mini wants to do here to try to deal with this.
Yeah, most likely, like you normally see from this spot, like 2-gate Observer, double expand Reaver, right? Like that's kind of the norm.
So, the mines are placed around the bunker in a way where, originally Protosses would try to run by with their Dragoons, so that's there to catch that. You can see he's trying to inch in and just snipe mines. It's very tricky to do. Obviously, easier to do when there's nobody here to fight. This is a spider mine that's nearsighted. You can't see the Dragoons.
I know, I thought they were going to trigger it like 5 times there.
It's like, next to that spider mine is a pair of contacts on the ground and can't see anything near it at all. He sends the Zealot out to try to soak. It's a little bit easier to shoot the mines down if you've memorized where they are. And so it's unlikely that he's going to try to push out too far from there, because a misstep will result in your Dragoons dying.
Right now, looking at Mine's build, by the way, he is going for a very, very fast armory. He does have an okay army there. Hasn't started his second factory yet, like he's getting ready to, but he's very unit light, so there is a possibility that Mini can go across the map and see if maybe Mind is skimping too much. I think Mind will be fine, but that can be a scary moment for Terran if you're being so greedy.
A denial on another base. I assume he wants to get a third base. I can't imagine what else he'd be trying to tech up into, especially with the extra minerals. The Dragoon doesn't miss, and so the mine is shot down, but I mean, this is just so hard right now from Mini's position.
It's very tough, especially when you get such a good scout. Wow, it doesn't kill any probes with that. But now that he's seen that it is, in fact, Reaver, which, again, is pretty standard. But the third base has been denied a couple times, right? Like, we saw the probe trying to get up and get sniped, which is an issue. Now, he tries to get in here. Oh, he's actually going to get both the tanks. I mean, I'm kind of surprised he got both. Like, watch him walk up there. I'd be licking my lips as mine. I'm like, oh, you're going to give me your goons? And then he actually gets 2 tanks, so like, okay.
What was the game? Was it Mini that did this, where it's like he like ran up with Dragoons and DTs and like killed the tank and the turret and ran into main, and we're like, how did he do that? That's so weird.
Yeah, sometimes you see a move like that, and you're like, I didn't think that would work.
You're like, that doesn't work when I try it. In fact, I stopped trying it because I had to learn that's just not the way to play the game, but apparently he's able to pull it off. He's not going to get the barracks, but if he did, that would be a little victory. A little bit of a feather in his cap. Instead, it's going to be the third Nexus coming down, and us kind of going into what's now a slower game after a pretty crazy, exciting start. But definitely one I think Mini is just generally behind.
You know, honestly, I don't want to call this behind. He has a Reaver. He has a third Nexus coming up. He's up 22 supply right now. There's no potential for an attack for like a long time for mine. I think Mini's done a fine job recovering from it, you know? A lot of times when you go for these greedy Nexus first builds, if you just don't lose probes, your worker count is so high that you kind of recover, you know?
Big save for Mini. Looks like he's not going to be able to get this turret killed off in time. Actually does dodge that shot. And he just wants to get this over here. If you could kill off the turret, you can create new opportunities. Oh my God! The Dragoon bum rush over here.
Man.
Man. And
what am I looking at? Okay,
bunker goes down. Tastosis.
Luckily for Mind, he does kill that Reaver as soon as it drops out in the main. That was actually looking like, oh, he's going to kill him. But as is, I think Mind will stabilize here. He can just bring a couple tanks over. But Mini is doing such a good job of reducing these numbers. Oh my God, I can't believe he's going for that tank. I can't believe that.
It's insane, man. He backs up. Now, I do want to just say this.
Yeah.
As we're in this...
I just wanted to say, when he dived on that tank, it's like most of us think about it like you miss 50% of your shots shooting uphill. And for Mini, he's like, you hit 50% of your shots shooting uphill.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Tastosis.
It's okay to trade out Dragoons for tanks, as long as it's, you know, not the craziest mismatch in numbers. It really is fine. Keeping the tank count low is probably the most important thing. So when you see these attacks in from the Protoss, if they're killing stuff, it's going to be worth it. Terran's just going to have less material to move out and take a third or do a push.
That is for sure. If you reduce that tank count enough times, it becomes really annoying for Terran to do anything. You need the tanks for an attack, you need the tanks for defense, you need the tanks to take another base.
So he just drops here and just knows to pick it up. Does he just keep the Dragoon with no damage? Is that what happens? Yeah. Click on it? He just knows the exact timing of that to bait out the shot. That's so crazy.
Yeah, he's really quite masterful at that. You know, as is, looking at this game now, it's a 32 supply advantage for Mini. You know, Mind, he's got an okay factory count. I'm sure he must have 2-1 spinning. But really, he needs to take a third base. Like, that's really important at this point. It feels like he's being left behind a little bit here by Mini.
So the dropship can grab these vultures. He could try to fly right up into the main. I love that there's a cannon here already. I actually like the whole shape of Mini's base here. It makes it a lot harder to run vultures around and create moments of chaos because the layout is just so clean here. Look at that. The Reaver just comes out immediately. He can deflect this so nicely. Can he actually get the drop ship?
Yeah,
No.
looks like that'll make it.
By
out
the way,
mine not really finding any damage there, but at least his command center's coming along. But it looks like Mini is getting ready to take a fifth base at this point.
Yeah, it seems like you're right. He's just basically stayed back. He's gone into that Templar tech off one robo. And, you know, the truth is, he can keep the probe count probably pretty low and just keep macroing up and basically trying to get ready for a push. And we know that the reality is also that the command center is being made inside the main here for Mind. So Mind doesn't have any real big plans to attack out. And I'm worried that Mind is going to be out of reach of opportunity in a longer game
He
here.
has to really cleanly take his third base. If he can't take that third base very, very quickly here, generally the clock for Terran is have your third up by 12 minutes. You know, obviously this is like a weird situation with the Nexus bust and everything, all the scuffling, but he needs to get it and hold it right now.
Okay, it's now or never. Oh, the Mind Drag doesn't quite work. The Scarab shots are sick. Connecting there, taking the vultures out, allowing the Dragoons to come in and do the damage they want to do. The picking up and dropping of the Reavers here is so good. And, I mean, dude, is there a world that Mind can win this from
it's
now?
over.
I think pretty much all the tanks were killed off. And a reset like that with a fifth base to back it here for Mini, I mean, I gotta commend him, man. A game where he lost his Nexus like he did, and the way that he just fought back and kind of willed his way into this position is something to be inspired by.
Yeah, he really smashed. It was a very good recovery. He kept the pressure on really, really well. Mine, honestly, I think he played it a little bit too greedy. You know, to bust cross map is like, okay, that's great. But he went like immediate armory, you know, he really had very low unit counts as the observers and goons come up. The thing is, it's like a pretty standard recovery, right? Like as a Terran player, you play against Nexus first all the time, and the Protosses have basically figured out that like you go 2-gate observer, break out, go Reaver and double expand, right? So Mind had so few units, and then just continually lost units here.
And even the storms there at the end. Mind makes it look so easy. But a lot of patience shown there from him. You know, he got greedy, and Mind saw that. Mind punished. And then Mini played a very calculated game from a little bit of an uncomfortable position. I'm a little bit stunned at some of the moves, like when he ran up and just shot down 2 tanks, when he was ready to kamikaze the shuttle and the Zealots and the Reavers into the main, only then to run in with 4 more Dragoons. It seems like Mini had no idea that Mind could come back and lash out at him the way he did. And if I was Mind right now, I would not be feeling very confident with a loss like that.
You know, you're pretty happy to be able to knock out that Nexus first cross map, right? That can be a very tricky moment. But he didn't play that well as a follow-up, honestly. I'm not, you know, I'm a big fan of Mind, but I do think, you know, when you're playing this greedy upgrade Terran and you're like, well, he can't hurt me, and then he comes in and starts giving you black eyes all over the place, well, it's kind of on you, right? So we're going to have to see maybe a little bit more unit heavy from Mind if he wants to play well against Mini. You know, Mini is someone who's willing to take those risks and try to bust up your tank count.
Mind made the right decisions in the last game, but didn't have the right moves to keep his advantage. What's going to happen this time? We've seen that Mini already likes to go for a very quick Nexus. He likes to, you know, he's really the cheater Protoss. He likes to cut corners however he can. But, I mean, with Mind making that smart move at the start there, is a Nexus first a bad idea? Tempest is a different map, too, when it comes to expands. Let's not
That
forget
is for sure. That high ground definitely makes a difference. It's really hard to bust any Nexus first plays, and you don't need siege mode. Like, just a bunker holds on against, like, Infinity Dragoons. So there's a lot of ways that this can go.
Fingers crossed we get to go to Invader. I think that'd be such a fun map for these two. But it's now or never, guys. Don't forget, Mini, one of the only Protosses left in the ASL. It's a very Protoss light season. Looking to take it, but who knows? Maybe might turn it around here on Tempest. Okay. Mini to start. The top right. Bottom right is mine.
Well, right now, what I'm kind of looking for is how fast are they going to expand? Are there going to be any early units, right? Like, you can kind of mind game this as Mini. I feel like you have a few more options. Like, you could go like Gateway at the front of your natural and make Zealots right away to try to catch a greedy, gasless expanding Terran. Or you can just go straight Nexus first and say, hey, I'm on high ground, try to drill up there.
By the way, you know, seeing the growing popularity of Mini is kind of nice. You know, Mini is, if you're like a fan of StarCraft, he's one of the greats. But there's also this cult of personality in Korea. You know, all these guys stream, right? Like Jaedong, huge. Bisu, huge. Calm now, huge. But Mini, you know, a couple of years ago had a pretty tiny, modest stream. But it seems like that has grown in popularity as more people are picking up interest and being inspired by his play.
Well, he's certainly a really interesting Protoss to watch. He's pushing the envelope forward, I think, more than maybe anyone other than Snow, although Snow's is all so stylistic that it's it's like, well, if you're a Reaver guy, you watch him. But, you know, Mini is... I don't know. I feel like he does more for the race than anyone else, maybe, as far as strategy development.
Yeah, well, he's just so good. Well, hold on. Is he going to do it again? All right, so next is first. There we go. We could have another rush just like the last game. I mean, what Mine did was right. And keep in mind, bunker rushing on this map, I mean, it is possible. You do have a high ground area on your natural, but that doesn't play as much of a role in bunker rushes. It's much better. Like, if you were going to two-factory a Protoss on this map and the Protoss fast expands, I think you'd be in trouble as a Terran.
Also,
I think the tank shots are going to miss.
Yeah,
well,
go ahead. What I was going to say is, like, if it's a one-gate, absolutely you can still do it. If it's like a two-gate, I think that's where, you know, even the 1 to 2 missed volleys that are going to happen while you're engaging up the ramp is going to ruin the rush, right? Because those are already really close on flat ground. So that's where the thing is, Mini scouted this right away, and here's Mine scouting it. Look at this, he's like 1 gate gas. I don't know, man. This is where I would 100% throw down a 2nd gate or a Forge as Mini.
Look at this. The Observer's ready to pull the SCVs for him. The early days of this build were actually double gate because it was assumed that the Terran had to rush, so all you had to do was beat that. And then, you know, the game changed a little bit. So it's going to be a different variation. And, you know, there's a lot of different Nexus first builds, by the way, guys. There's a lot of ways to cut this. It's a whole other world of build orders. He's going to have a cannon here. Now, a cannon will stop Marine SCV if it gets up in time, and especially a cannon from high ground to low.
It's a very strong build. It's actually funny. It got really popular for a bit, and then it completely died off, and it's actually back now. And this is, amongst all builds in the game, in all matchups, what gives you the biggest advantage economy-wise is a Forge fast expansion against a factory expand. Like, you actually get up about 7 workers with this. So that's... Yeah, it's super significant. It's way more than other Nexus first builds. Because you just don't have to stop making your probes. You just make probes nonstop, you have the cannon, you're fine. Mind, when he saw the Forge, he said, okay, screw it, we're not rushing. He throws down his own command center, and, you know, he's going to try to fight back against this.
Now, from Forge expand, is it always into Robo, or are there Protosses that like to go for something different, like DTs or anything weird like that? We've seen a rise of just sort of DTs later on in this matchup that seem to have surprisingly good results, especially 2 years ago.
Well, it shouldn't be DTs. DTs would just be a mind game with this. You know, because mines are so good against this, you can just throw mines down. There's like a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors as far as follow-up builds, and he's going to see that it's Robo. So that's like a big moment there for mine. But what you want is if you're expanding, you want them to go 3-gate. 3-gate is what you do to hold off 2-fact, and then Robo is what you do if they're expanding, because they will expand and they'll go mines 100% of the time. There's just no reason not to. You don't have any map presence. They contain you. You know, they feel good about that. But if you go Robo super quick, it negates a lot of that. So here, you know, there's a lot of back and forth going on, but Mini definitely chose the right tech route.
An armory here for Mind. It's going to be a slow game for a little bit, which I'm okay with. This means we're going to have a lot more drama and a lot more interactions later on. You know, a Terran that expands to keep up with the Protoss is going to be a game where, I mean, what could you possibly do to them at this moment? Especially when they make a forge, so their units are later, but of course the cannon can't move across the map like it did in the StarCraft 2 beta.
What an idea. When I saw that Tasteless in StarCraft 2, like before they put it out, they were like, yeah, the cannons are going to be able to move. The moment I saw that, I'm just messaging people. I'm like, Tastosis is going to win a StarLeague. This is crazy. For those of you who don't know, Tastosis
I thought the same thing. I'm like, well,
Tastosis was very well known for being a good cannon rusher back in the day.
Yeah. That was all back in the day when we figured out that you could put a pylon and cannons behind the minerals, like we see in these games here now, where I'm like, oh, that's so good, it's insane. But yeah, just imagine I take out your natural, and then the cannons just move right into your main there.
Just absolute madness. They did it with spines and spores instead, and now we have giant air army battles of spores walking around.
And yeah, that's right. And then Zerg won everything in StarCraft 2 for a couple of years. So with the Observer out, you can start to finally clear the mines. Protoss can finally find some ground that they can move through here, and then start to make the decisions about where do they want to expand, and how do they want to play the rest of this game. It is a funny thing. When you go for that early forge, I guess you just do get a free cannon in your main like that. It looks so funny in this matchup, seeing a cannon at this moment of the game, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, you might as well just defend against the drop and free up the map.
Absolutely. I don't think there's a huge reason not to do it, other than, you know, mind game of like, who would go starport against this. But Mini right now getting ready to set up this third base location rather. Still just kind of gathering his Dragoons out on the map, clearing some of these mines that Mind put down. And Mind just going for kind of a standard upgrade Terran. But you know what? It's a pretty big map, man. Like, there's a lot of bases here. You know, it's one of these 16 base maps, so I feel like playing this upgrade Terran, as Mini is figuring this out, he can just stay ahead on expansions. You know, he's got that insane pro count. Look at that saturation. Beautiful. And he's going to have Reavers out. He's going to have more Nexuses. And Mine just has zero opportunity to attack for a very long time from here.
Yeah, Mine's going to have to play it pretty quiet next couple of minutes. The map is shaped in a funny way. I believe the highest point of the map is just right in the middle. And there's a lot of ways that Protoss can run around the middle. I mean, Terran could try to push through there, and there's certainly a lot of expansions in the center that I think are undesirable for the Protoss to try to take. I think if you're from Mini's position, you expand in a straight line, hugging the top of the map, and then drop down like it's a rope all the way to the
escape route
bottom
from
left.
the Terran push.
That's right. Yeah, so you climb across the ceiling of the mini map, and then you slide down the wall down to the bottom. But we have 4 bases in the middle that I think don't play much of a role for Protoss. Maybe they do in that you could attack them. Nice control from Mind, sliding that Vulture away. And yeah, and we see these little maneuvers here. Look at there, there's a second forge coming down. That feels wrong, but I guess why not just go double forge in a game like this, right?
Yeah, I think it's you never see that really, but in a game like this, yeah, he has such a good pro count, and he's already seen what Mind is doing. You know, Mind, literally no opportunity to move out before 2-1, right? Like, he needs a huge amount of supply. He needs his upgrades to pay off. So it's just, you may as well get your upgrades going. You may as well tech as many. You may as well expand as many. I honestly want to see him take a 4th right now.
And for Terran to expand, I mean, I think there is some good ideas in not rushing out right away, but I don't know that Terran is going to expand here. I mean, there was no third command center made, right? We
not
didn't see
yet.
that.
Not yet. He's really massing heavily. I think he will take another base, though, because I don't think that there's very much bus potential. Like, he's getting great upgrades. He's on 5 factory. If you see more than 5 factory go down, then the odds of it being an attack go far, far up. But on, oh, it is 6 factory. And he's getting a dropship. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he does go for an attack. But honestly, like, in games like this, Protoss starts macroing so well. Like, I like adding a lot of factories and just making sure you don't die. And then you can expand as well.
So we've got the double shuttles out. Now, we did see Mini do this before where he, like, flew into the main as the big 2-base push came out, killed off SCVs, and then killed off the scanners and won with PTs.
That's right. I forgot about that game.
That's our boy Mini. So, yeah, that was, like, a very specific type of win where, for me, I watched it, it's, like, such an aha moment. I'm like, oh, of course. Now, there's a dropship going northbound, but there is a cannon ready to receive this.
Yeah, maybe there's siege tanks in there yeah, it looks like 1 siege tank, double vulture. And that's going to allow him to kill off some of these probes at least. So, very decent move. But, you know, Mini's taken a 4th base, and he's got a very good probe count. So I don't think it's the end of the world to take a little bit of probe damage there. But this could set up, right? Like, as units move back and he's getting some mines out on the map, he could move out. Like, if he wants to do his push, Mini's not in a position to slow it down right now. Oh, yeah, he's on 7 factory, man. Looks Holy crap, he's going for it.
Yeah, he's really going for, you know, a big battering ram to move across the map and try to flatten this out. And, I mean, he's going to move now. I guess you could just drop the tank up here.
Welcome back to Lost Temple.
I always forget this is up here. Yeah, Lost Temple fields all around. Oh, the Reaver's going to take a little bit of extra damage there. And one is shot down, and so now it's going to be just the 1 Reaver here. Another mine! Oh my God, this is so bad for me.
Very lucky moment there for Mine that he re-picked up the Reaver as well. So that drop goes completely wrong for Mini somehow. And Mine is up 20+ supply suddenly. He's got 2 on upgrades, and he is ready to move out.
Okay, another drop over here. He's going to go with that storm drop onto the SCVs. I mean, that's important. That's going to slow the Terran down, but what's actually back at home? I don't know if the Reavers did enough damage. It seems like Mine is going to get to throw everything that he wanted to right here at Mini. Dragoons being dropped, a couple of messy situations, barely cleaned up back at home. I don't think that Mini can survive this big push.
He needed to keep everything he had to try to block this, but using those Psy Storms to kill SCVs, that doesn't matter. Mine is happy that those Psy Storms aren't going to hit his vultures and tanks. Moving out, he's already killed a bunch of Dragoons. He's getting into position. Mini cannot hold this push. There's no way.
No, this is done. This is done. I think that those Reavers, they need to stay alive a lot longer. This push came a lot later. And, I mean, look at the control. It's so good. And the storms, I mean, it's just, there's no way. You're never going to have enough storms to stop these units from killing off all of your gateways. Terran can expand when the Terran wants, honestly.
Well, I mean, expansion is the last thing he even needs to think about. Like, as long as you just push this nicely, Mini's losing everything. What is he going to make gateways at his 3rd base? that's not a thing.
Yeah, right.
So, he's looking real dead right now. Reaver's popping out. He's trying to storm, make Archons, anything he can to try to break through, but it's not going to work. And honestly, I got to look at this game, Tasteless. He's like playing against a 2-base all-in from Mine, and he suicides in to kill SCVs with 2 shuttles of Reavers, and then another one during the move out to get more SCVs at the natural with Psy Storm. None of that makes sense. All you have to do is hold the push.
That's it. Yeah, I think that keeping the shuttle with the Templars in there alive is definitely the play. I know in the game that he won, where he got up to 3 shuttles, he sent the Reavers and the 2 Templars in for a storm drop, and it was pretty cool. But this time around, yeah, the storm drop after the push is out, it's like, man, he's already mined all the resources he needs. In fact, you're just making it easier for him to not make supply depots now with the big army he's got. He can just crank out a couple more units and he's fine.
I mean, he's relying on winning. with the army that he has. So the fact that you're giving all your splash damage, all your maneuverability to him on a platter, he's happy with that. He's very happy with that. Now, all that being said, Mini is actually doing a great job of clearing a bunch of this. He's killed a lot more than I thought that he would. I actually was expecting a GG at any moment, and truthfully, I still kind of am. But he's making a game of it. He's got some extra Reavers out. He's actually expanding to the top left.
You got a storm drop here?
Man, of course.
What? Of course.
Yeah, you suicide your Reavers.
No. Well, I mean, why? You send your 2 Reavers in.
Yeah, you got 2 vultures with that. That was great.
Right when you might be able to take it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is like a magic trick. He's like, you mean these 2 Reavers? We're like, oh my god, how did you move those 2 Reavers into that shuttle? That's crazy.
Yeah, the game truly is becoming quite over. Yeah, I don't know. Some of these decisions that Mini makes, it's like, yes, in a standard game, it's great to harass the workers, but when your opponent is all in on 2 base anyways, you're doing him a favor. Like, you're throwing away the units you need to hold the push. You are freeing up a little bit of supply, and honestly, he's running out of mineral patches anyways. So it's like, okay, that's fine.
Hey man, he's making the gateways at the top left. There's not another base yet. Well, there is going to be one now.
Yeah, he sends the probes away from here. He knows that this base should be under attack next. In fact, it is. He is going to end up losing that. Reaver's still being pretty annoying, killing a decent amount of units here. Loses one of them. But yeah, I see that command center coming over, which is not good news for Mini. Oh, Tastosis, I'm not sure if you are still there, but definitely don't hear you anymore. Anyways.
No, sorry, I'm
Okay.
here, I'm here. No, I'm looking at the situation, and it's just like, I want to believe, I really want to believe in some world where he could take this. And keep in mind, these tanks and these vultures haven't been healed. They've eaten a lot of storms. Not that one, but many of them. There's just one vessel out. And I mean, let's keep the dream going here. There's 2 Reavers coming down and dropping. There's a vulture coming over here to try to hit this.
Honestly, like, he's making some magic, but the actual army of Mind is just a bit better. There's no question. I would love to see him make 1 Wraith right now. That would really that would really hurt this pure Reaver play that we see. You know, having the vessels out as well, by the way, doing a great job. It's going to be hard for him to grind anything down. DTs, which is a common way to do this. See, the DTs all coming out, but there's a vessel, so no real potential there, unfortunately. And yeah, Mind is going to be able to finish him off here. But honestly, like, with how close he's making it, even in this weird position, the fact that he's still slowing him, imagine if he had saved some of that splash damage he wasted earlier.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I mean, he's still taking these out. He still hasn't advanced into the main. I agree with you. He probably still loses this, but if you still can make shuttles and still can make Reavers, yeah, this is crazy. Like, this is a game where, as Mind, you're almost like, okay, I'm going to win this, but I don't feel like I won this after it's done. You know? Like, my opponent is making me work so hard. He's still doing it. He's still making shuttles. He's still grabbing stuff.
Yeah, StarCraft, I mean, games can turn on just a few units, you know? And I'm looking at this and thinking, like, what if he had saved those 2 Psy Storms, killed an additional 4 units during the original push, then he would have had more here, not wasted the 2 Reavers dropped in the natural later on. And I look at all these things, I'm like, well, damn, this would really actually look really different from where it's at right now. Maybe Mind still wins that, but it feels like he's hobbled himself so badly. And now that Mind is truly turtling up and just killing some more probes, look at this. Mini is just completely playing, you know, like a refugee style, sending his probes all over the place, trying to keep something going. But his economy is down to almost 0.
You know, it's funny. I don't think that the Cybernetics core was ever remade, Artosis. I think we've only seen Zealots and DTs and Reavers because he just hasn't made a core.
I think we're just seeing those because they're the best units, Tastosis.
If he had maybe had 5 or 6 Dragoons and those Vultures came into the top left main, I think this is still maybe a little bit more salvageable.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, you see these vultures run in, and he can almost choose whatever he wants to target at this point. Sending the rest of his army up, there's not going to be any way for Mini to micro his way out of this one. He's down to 68 supply. That is so incredibly low. And yeah, it looks like Mind is going to finally be able to tie this one up. But honestly, this game went on about 6 minutes longer than it should have, it feels like.
Well, it was an entertaining one. You even kind of see how Mini's sitting in his chair. I think not fully engaged with it, but kind of, he's like, I'm gonna just keep, just like this. He's gonna keep doing so much damage.
Dude, this is, yeah.
Like, I'm gonna make you fight so hard for this win, just so that and now he's gonna tap out. There it is. Hey, cool game. I think that a couple little mistakes made that for a game where Mini barely loses, surprisingly. I think any other Protoss in the world is already out of that game and into game 3. But Mini was somehow able to chip away so much as the Terran tried to push up into that main, or I guess push down, actually, into the main base of Mini. And I think Mind for a little bit was like, oh my God, is this guy actually somehow this resilient? We're going to go to game 3 now.
One thing I think with the way that Mini stayed in there for a really long time, this might be to try to show Mind, like, hey, don't be doing these all-ins. I could have won that still. You know? I would be nervous about that. I'd be like, damn, that barely worked. I don't want to play another build like that.
Ditto. The way that, you know, do you get storm dropped that often on 2-base in a TVP?
Well, no. You know, normally, like right now, third bases come up around maybe 10 minutes. So generally not. Generally not. You know, if I'm doing a 2-base all-in, and like honestly, you don't even think about that. They want the storms to stop the push if you're doing a 2-base all-in. Truly, that was the biggest mistake of the game for me. And we're going into Invader. The top left, we have Mind. The bottom right, we have Mini. Definitely going to be an exciting map, this new 2-player map. Very, very different. I've really enjoyed watching pros play on this map, and even playing on this map since it's on the ladder now. It really provides like a plethora of attack routes and really strange base locations as well.
I'm glad that we have these new maps out as the ASL season is out. Because that's the big gift to the fans and the people that want to be students of the game, is that you see the pro. You know, sometimes the ladder map season is a bunch of maps that have nothing to do with what's at the pro level. So you get to see these cool games, but you can't take the ideas and lab them out in a real ladder session. But not this time around. Very, very ideal. Mini goes for a pylon over here, and I assume this is going to be a gas steel build, like we've seen in the past, especially from Bisu, but Mini as well.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see that gas steel, and he'll put a gateway out there and rally up some zealots, no doubt, to maintain some pressure. And you know, this is something we're so used to this now. You know, we were making fun, I think, earlier in the cast about Eclipse being around for like 4 years or whatever. But it got both sides so used to gas steel that, you know, it's like you really, everyone has their own stuff worked out for what they want to do, and it is a very stylistic thing.
Yeah, you know, I know a lot of people hate having their gas stolen, but I think at this point in time, people are so good at both sides. It makes for some really fun, interesting games that you couldn't otherwise have if you didn't have a 2-player map. The response here from Mind is to just take his gas immediately and make it impossible to steal. So Mini's answer is to just make a Nexus right away instead of going for gas steal into Gateway.
Yeah, it seems like a very smart way to play it, because this is a very unoptimized opener from Mind, and he's playing against a Nexus first. And this, let's see, I mean, it could be a Forge, it could be you know, just a regular Nexus first. Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind him going for like one of the 2-gate variants, so he just has enough units.
You know, I think, didn't we in the past also have it where if you took their gas first, you could go for Forge first and into Nexus? I think we saw Sins do that or something. Or maybe it was Rune or somebody like that.
You definitely gas steal
Rune,
into... Well, the thing is, I think what you do is when you gas steal, you kind of scout, and like if there's any question, you throw a Forge down. You know, because sometimes Terran will like hide a second barracks, that type of thing. So if any minerals look to be missing, you just make a cannon and you're good. Here he's going to go 2 gateway, and the 2 gateway, like I can't imagine. The barracks is late, the factory's going to be super late, right? Like nothing looks very well on time. I think mine just has to expand.
Yeah, I don't think any kind of push is going to work. A lot of times you'll see 2 zealots made here. If you want to be greedy, you make no zealots. If you think that they're like not going to attack you at all, and make a couple extra probes. But the 2-gate is really the very, very safe way to deal with Nexus first in general, to kind of cover your bases. But we do know Mini is basically able to do all the different Nexus first builds. I think it's why it's so hard for people to prep against him. All these Nexus first games and gas steal games, even if they force the Terran to just claim their own gas early, do have very specific play types. It's like games of chess with very specific lines that have been drawn out. And Mini's so good at all those different approaches.
He is. In fact, he invented a bunch of them. He actually really helped Nexus first a lot, especially that run where he played Rush in the finals, right? He used it 4 times out of 7 games and really showed its versatility. Now, a Vulture comes down. Am I crazy? Is this his first scout?
Look at Mini. Did you see how sad he was?
I didn't see his face, but
he was the saddest person in the whole world.
Well, Vulture runs by, it sees everything you're doing, gets a couple probe kills, some lost mining time. He's an optimizer. He hates seeing stuff like that, man. And now he's just kind of sitting in his base. As far as he knows, mines are going to be up in a second. He can't really walk out. He doesn't have any tech. But actually, it's a starport hidden on the side of the map.
Yeah. I mean, that's a starport that's just never going to get scouted. When you go for Nexus first like this, you got to remember how big of a map this is and how many spots you can hide things in. And Protoss is going to move out. He's going to try to go around the Vultures. Now, what is actually back at home? It's a bunker, right? Yeah, a bunker. 2 Zealots and 4 Dragoons can actually just kill a bunker, by the way. That's a lot of damage output.
So fast here. And he's going to get around it, so it's hard to repair. Really good move here. Oh, a couple mines hit and actually drag into the Marines and SCV, so that is very painful. Oh, man.
That was insane. Yeah. That was like a fatality. He perfectly killed the bunker so that the mine would blow up the SCVs and the Marines.
It's kind of crazy, man. I mean, this is the most straightforward, apish way to win a game. It's like, you're like, man, I don't even have range. We just right-click all these gateway units onto your bunker. He's walking through mines.
Damage
it doesn't
good.
matter.
He's just going to come plow through this whole position. There are no Vultures that can lay mines in between here and there. So Dragoon range is going to finish. A Robo starts, but more Dragoons can keep coming down here. Don't forget, this barracks is actually a structure that's making units in this moment, and that can be killed off as well. Thank you, Observer, for zooming in on that dropship. Unfortunately, it cannot be loaded up. There's nothing down there to load it up. The Vultures were supposed to be put in there and sent out. He still doesn't have Dragoon range. Oh my God, the Vulture.
Siege mode, Tastosis.
Okay, he has Dragoon range
mode is what I'm nervous about here. Oh man, if he loses that barracks, dude. Oh, he can't get another factory for at least another minute now before he can even start it. So painful. Starts that immediately. Still microing the tanks heavily. This is so bad. There's so much damage being put out. Look at this. It's a 24 supply advantage for Mini right now. There's no way. Mine is super dead.
This one mine, I think Mini knows it's there, but isn't sure where. He's trying to just see if he can maybe bait it out while he moves in. You know, the command center could just get killed. He's just going to go for it right there. He sees where the next mine is.
Yeah.
I think it's still a little bit tough to try to stutter step back. There's still too many targets.
Dude, that command center, center is grossly low right now. He has got to repair that. Oh my God, more.
But that's going to force the tanks
more
up.
goons come in. Mine is trying to set off a little vulture drop. I believe he has 2 vultures in that shuttle or that dropship right now. But Mini is just like relentless with this micro damage everywhere.
Yeah, again, the tanks haven't really been repaired. So, you know, oh my God. He's actually going to send it through.
I can't believe we still don't have some bases on the line here. You know, he's playing against mass range goons, just trying to micro like 2 tanks to win. Reaver at home here for Mini, who has probably as many probes as the supply of Mind overall. Yeah, this is as bad as it can really get. Mind is quite dead. He sees what he's up against. He's going to have to go land that starport and go Wraith defense. He can't afford turrets right now. Like, he has to go like tank, Wraith, just mass up and somehow get into a third base.
Oh boy, you know, even losing the dropship is going to be painful. It looks like that'll get away. There's no real way for a Dragoon to come around and catch it. SCV counts, look at how thin the SCV's numbers are that are mining. It does not look like a game that's about to hit the 9-minute marker. Whereas you can see for Protoss, the shadows even under the probes are so dark. There's so many more workers just mining around there, and there's about to be a third base finishing.
Yeah. Well, the shadows under the probes are so dark because the sun is high in the Protoss sky right now. Mini is in just a completely winning position. It's like actually very sad to look at the base of Mind, because if this was his base at like 7 minutes, I'm like, okay, like we're okay, we're in a real game. But looking at the clock, it's like 9 minutes 30 seconds. A lot of the time you already have your 3rd command center done right now. You'll have 3 factories done, 2 armories spinning, your comm sats up. It's such a hard position to come back from, that like even making a plan from here is hard, you know? You have to get really creative about like, okay, he has to do these things wrong, I have to do these things right. How do I bait this to occur? And there's just not a clean answer right now.
You know, the Terran has been so crippled and so set back. You're completely right, Artosis. Like, what exactly do you want to do? I think a lot of times you just want to try to camp it out and just mass up tanks and try to take a third later, and then, you know, hope that you can outposition the Protoss. But I think even against Mini, something like that's going to be too hard to do.
It certainly looks that way. I like that Mini's even putting down like multiple cannons at these expansions right now, just to make sure that Ultras can't completely ruin his day. Although these 2 do their best. You actually got a lot of probes with those 2. In comes a Reaver drop, kind of crazy. Not a lot of units in the natural. He does have more in the main base. Wasn't sure where this was going to end up. Oh God, that Reaver is going to get the siege tank.
How can the Reaver fit back there on that little ledge? There's like a little Reaver-shaped high grass. That's going to be it.
Player made this map. Now, that's going to be it. Mini is going to be able to take down Mine 2-1. Honestly, it definitely looked like Mini should win the series. Watching the series is not really a question in my mind that he outdid Mine here. Even making that second game close after some pretty bad mistakes. So Mini goes into that round of 8. And honestly, I think that this is like the best case scenario for this group when you look at it. Russian and Mini going through, that's legit round of 8.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm really happy that Mini's moving on. This guy scares me at times. Mini has his moments where, you know, he looks good, but he doesn't look like he's reached his full potential, if that makes sense. He's got really smart ideas. He really knows how to execute, but then there's times where he doesn't seem to have what Snow has, even though Snow's not with us right now in this ASL.
Snow doesn't have what Mini has.
But, yeah, maybe that's it. But it's going to be fun to see him move on here. And I do think that Mini can pretty much beat anybody. For sure. He's got a really good handle on early game.
Yeah, absolutely. He's deadly against any possible opponent.
Now this is, I love the, this is the total ooga booga. Like I'm just gonna run in here and try to do, like damage is good and body blocking is also good. Now watch this. Right as it finishes, it kills the Marines. Like, I know Marines die pretty fast to Zealots and Dragoons, but even having like the extra 2 seconds gives you time to come up with something.
Yeah, that was. I like how you call it. What do you call it? The ooga booga move. It really is. It's like it's very caveman-esque to just take all your units and right-click on the bunker, and you're like, "Me have many units. You die now." It's like there's no finesse, there's no micro. You don't even have to hold position the goons outside of range because they don't have range. You just go up and you're like, all right, I have more.
We're going to go to that interview now.
We have the second winner of Group B. It is going to be Mini, the pros player, moving on to the round of 8 this season. Congratulations. Thank you. After season 12, this is your round of 8 advancement in 4 seasons. And it's so hard earning a ticket in the round of 8 for you, Mini, today. It was a very tough day for you. How do you feel right now? Well, I feel like I returned from the depths of hell. It was a tough day. And since I made it to round of 8 again after a long time, I'll try my best in the round of 8. So the winners, the first match against Rush, and the losers against Killer, and the final match against mine. Every single match was extremely tough. So the match against Rush, you threw away the 12 o'clock position and went for the aggressive attack into Rush's base. But that decision did lose the game. So what was that decision about? Well, the original idea was to kill a lot of his workers and gain a lot of advantage. And even if I do that, losing the 12 o'clock position doesn't really matter to me. But then I was left in a very ambiguous state. Being unable to do both of them, so that left me a lot of frustration. So after that match, it felt like you awakened because you showed no mercy against Killer in the losers match, the PvZ match. And everybody in chat was saying who made Mini angry, who made him so ferocious. So after the loser match, it felt like you were all warmed up going to the final match. Usually I have very sweaty hands, so when I come to the venue it's very cold here. So in the first match, I had my hot pack, but my hands weren't warm enough, so my micro wasn't so good in the first match. But then starting from the second match, my hands were getting warmed up, so I was able to show better performance. Maybe the nervousness heated your hands up, I don't know. So in the final match, all 3 games you went for a double Nexus build. So what was up with your build? Well, one disappointing thing was the second game, I wasn't gonna use the double Nexus strategy. And then I changed my build at last minute. And I think you should always stick to your original plan. I learned the lesson there. I mean, despite it being a double Nexus build, you still threw away the Nexus. You still threw away the natural without a second thought. I mean, I had to be decisive there. I had to make a decision. I thought I'd have a lot of regrets if I lost the game while defending the Nexus in the natural, so I just decided to just throw it away without a second thought. Well, Mini, what a phenomenal performance from you today. You gained a 2-1 win in the final match to move on to round of 8. So this is the best series for you in a long time. That's right. The round of 8, I think the last time I played there was like 4 seasons ago. So I'm not sure if I can make good preparation, but I'll still try to prepare well. In the pre-match interview, you mentioned that you're going to get the full buff to perform better in this season, and I guess that's coming true. So I'm sure a lot of the ASL fans want to see a Protoss alive in fall. So any words to them? So even the first match I wasn't gonna use the build that I used today, but Light gave me an advice to change it last minute.
근데 갑자기 어제 새벽에
And then I changed the build and hence I lost the game. So it's all Light's fault. I really shouldn't have changed my build last minute. So that leaves me a lot of regrets. And in the round of 8, I learned the lesson, so I'll try not to change my plan last minute. So last of all, you want to say your thanks to your fans and your colleagues. So many fans are here at the venue today. I received a lot of support, a lot of cheer. In the round of 8, I'll try to show a better performance to the fans. And also I want to thank my practice partners, Hero, Royal, Light, and Sharp. And also I noticed a lot of streamers in AfreecaTV are cheering for the last 3 pro players alive in ASL. So I want to thank those people. And I was able to gain a lot of energy thanks to those people. I'll try to show a better performance in the round of 8. Well, Mini, congratulations on your advancement today. Thank you. And that's it for the interview with the second winner of Group B.
Okay, 2 guys we can be hype about moving on here. Rush and Mini are our survivors. There are round of 8ers. They were part of the narrative to begin with, the people we thought we were going to get this far. For all the other players who just didn't make it, they did.
Well, you know, these guys are still really young players, right? Like amongst the whole crowd, they are definitely ones that are looking to take over those thrones, and they've already started that way. And yeah, we're starting to see what that round of 8 is going to look like. And so far, it looks fantastic. A couple Terran players, Mini and Effort. Every single player that's in that round of 8 so far has been to the finals at least one time. In fact, we have 3 championships, 3 ASL championships already up there.
Next week, we're going to continue on with Group C and Group D as we take out half of these players and the other half survive. You know, I'm very excited for Group D. As I said early on, I think Best, Sharp, Action, and Royal, that's going to be a crazy group. Bisu is a guy I've been following as a big fan of his for a long time when I was super young, like all the way back in high school. I've always wondered, is he going to get far enough to maybe win an ASL? I'm not so sure if he will, but he's definitely somebody I'm personally.
Yeah, I'm not surprised anytime he makes round of 8, but if he goes further than that, I'm like very pleasantly surprised because he doesn't quite feel like championship quality. Like there's just a little something missing, maybe from his PvT specifically. But I look at this group. That's a really tough group for him, but he can make it through there, right? Ample is absolutely doable for everybody, and Sulky and Hero are about as hard as you can get, but Bisu has about as good a PvZ as you can get.
Yeah. Guys, thanks so much for joining us for this day of the round of 16. We'll have Group C out as soon as we get the editing finished for it and put online. We love you, and thanks again for the love on Patreon.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much. Check it out once again, patreon.com/ASL English, and we'll see you in Group C.